started in just a minute. Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board meeting for August 27th, 2024. Can we please begin with a roll call?
Amanda Skyer.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg.
Here.
Gabriel Jarovsky.
Here.
Jeff Shelton.
Here.
Jerry Bucksbaum.
Here.
Kyle Waters.
Here.
Let the record reflect that David Burke and James Murphy are absent.
We now move on to approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do we have any changes to the agenda by staff?
Yes, Madam Chair. Benjamin Slaughter, City Planner for Historic Planner for West Palm Beach. We do have a couple changes to our agenda. Items 8.6 and 8.7 are duplicates of the advertised agenda and redundant with 6.1 and 8.2. We'd like to pull consent case 6.12463 off the consent and add to the new business. We'd also like to add a preservation awards, which are tardy from May. We finally got our awards in, and we have our applicants, or our awards here, and our recipients. And I think it's a great night to do it.
Great. Can you please clarify what you said again about 8.6 and 8.7?
I'm sorry, it's items number 8.6 and 8.7 are redundant with 8.1 and 8.2. I'm sorry, 8.6 and 8.2. My apologies.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yes. Consent cases 6.1 and 6.2 are redundant with items 8.2 and 8.6. Am I reading that right?
Do you mean they're the same? I'm not.
Yes, they're the same. We just had a couple typos in the agenda, but all the correct cases are on here.
Gotcha. And you're moving 6.1 to the regular agenda, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
So I see that as a duplicate, but what, I'm still not following what the second redundancy is.
Items 8.2 and 8.6 were duplicated in the agenda. We're just eliminating one of them.
8.2 and 8.6.
Yes.
Okay,
Got it.
got it now.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, do we have any changes to the agenda by members of the board? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda for August 27th, 2024 with the changes by staff.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the agenda has been approved. Moving on to approval of the minutes. I just needed clarification on, from the July 23, 2024 minutes. Under 8.3, it says Mr. James Murphy motion to continue with conditions. And then under 8.5, it says that Mr. Jaroslawski made a motion to approve the case, but then the motion was continued is the next part. So if we could go back and double check those minutes, just to make sure that those motions are properly represented in the minutes, is a little confusing to me. Any other changes to the minutes as presented in your packet? Can we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes for the July 23rd, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting with the one caveat specified by our chairperson.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We now move on to the report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good evening again, everybody. Since our last meeting, staff has approved 185 Level 1 permit reviews, 2 Level 2 permit reviews, and 12 zoning permits. The City of West Palm Beach, along with many other cultural institutions, hosted the National Alliance of Preservation Commissioners, the Forum 2024 conference. I was there for most days. I found it extremely successful. I want to thank Madam Chair for her comments and her attendance, and I hope everyone had a chance to attend. Our request for qualifications and the updated 2005 design guideline deadline submission was May 31st. We did not select a firm, and we're issuing an RFP for revised scope of work and budget. And I'd like to present the Preservation Awards now.
Great. And just to clarify, you said you did not select a firm yet?
We did not select a firm.
Okay, and so what's the timeline for selecting a firm?
We're revising the scope of work.
Okay. And so that'll take a few weeks? And
A
then
few
it has-
weeks.
And then you have to reissue?
Yes, and we'll have to go through procurement with that. The
Okay.
procedure will be much longer.
So we're still a few months out?
Yes.
Okay.
The 2024 Historic Preservation Board, I'd like to present the Preservation Awards. Our first award is for rehabilitation. It was a tough contest, but we found that 816 Park Place was a great example for rehabilitation. This is in the Flamingo Park Historic District. This is a one-story mission-style structure built in 1925 by Hanson Hall. It is a contributing location and located in Flamingo Park. Its character-defining features include a tile insert, decorative arched features along the windows, clay barrel tile roof. The addition of 994 square feet to the west side of the home included a one-car garage, and we find it to be a superior example of rehabilitation. Is there a recipient here for 816 Park Place? No, but I'm his architect for a project that we'll be doing shortly. Okay. Would you like to accept the award on their behalf? Okay. Thank you. I'll make sure we like to do that.
Yes, there we go. Thank you so much.
It doesn't matter, this is usually the way. Did you want to say a few words, or?
I mean, I would actually agree. So yeah, just by chance, I'm here, and this happens to be a client I'm doing a design for currently. The house is incredible in terms of the ceiling heights, the way the spaces are used inside, the historic preservation of the windows all around, and the, just the function of the home has kind of been maintained from, at least from my understanding, when I walked into this house and walked all around before I was commissioned, I can tell you that this was a high-quality, well-built home initially, and also preserved throughout the years thoroughly afterwards. Thank you.
And I'd just like to add, I'm sure everyone on the board will recall, but for everyone in the audience, this property in particular, we had the benefit of a lot of historical documentation that we could refer to. And in addition to that, the property owner was very willing to work with the board, and I think that made it a successful project. So congratulations.
Our next category is infill design. 2417 Medina Way in the El Cid District was our selected Example, this property is located in the mid-block of the west side Medina in the heart of El Cid. It consisted of a non-contributing primary minimal traditional one-story structure built in 1949 with multiple alterations. The applicant demolished the non-contributing structure and built a new two-story L-shaped single-family home, approximately 4,726 square feet, in a Mission Revival style. The proposed east elevation, a narrow part of the house, fit nicely the rhythm of the street. It features multiple hip roofs surfaced with barrel tile. Outriggers, tile, and cast stone accent the roof and openings. Multi-layer French doors and windows were proposed. And that is our finished product. Is the recipient here in the audience tonight?
Good evening, Rafael Saladrigas with Studio SR Architecture. We're very honored to receive this award from the city. Wonderful project, incredible clients, willing to push the envelope on good design. And with me tonight, of course, is my partner, Rafael Rodriguez. And where are the builders that were just here? Yeah, they disappeared. RJS Builders, great general contractors. And again, just like to thank the city for this terrific award. The owner is very proud to have received this.
Well, I think it was interesting to note, we were just chatting, and this is their 6th award, Preservation Award, which is quite an achievement. And I think this is exactly a great example of the quality of construction and materials that we want to encourage in our infill construction in our historic districts. So congratulations.
All right, I'm going to try not to choke up on this one. This is about service. I'll introduce everybody to Miss Debbie Murray, sitting right here, Chief Curator of the Historic Society of Palm Beach County, friend and mentor of mine. For the last 25 years, she has worked tirelessly to document and preserve the built environment of not only West Palm Beach, but the county as a whole. She served in so many different ways, as an author, as a researcher. She built an archive of approximately 3 million photographs and ephemera in her career. Without her contribution, a lot of the work that we do here would not exist. What she has stored as far as plans and photos. We send her applicants all the time to research their homes. I just can't go on enough. I'm gushing a little bit right here. But Debbie, this is really well deserved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I say just a quick word? So Ben told me there wouldn't be time for speeches, but I want to say to the board here, what you do is very, very important for your city. There are boards like you all across this county, and I think together, between you, the nonprofit world, we are making a difference in protecting our history, whether it be built, whether it be paper, whether it be three-dimensional objects. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for this award. Very honored.
Well, I know Debbie has touched the lives of so many, and how long have you been with the Historical Society?
It's 25 and a half now.
25 and a half years, which is incredibly impressive. And I know my story is just one small story in that 25 years, but when I was pursuing a graduate degree in historic preservation, I had a standing research appointment for one of the projects that I was working on, and you were always so wonderful. And so we're so fortunate to have you part of the community, and I know there's a lot of people here in the audience that can say so much more than I can, and so I'd like to invite them if there's anyone else here who would like to say a few words.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Chair, distinguished board members. My name is Jeremy Johnson. I have the privilege of serving as the president and CEO of the Historical Society of Palm Beach County. We maintain and operate the Richard and Pat Johnson Palm Beach County History Museum, just catty-cornered to this complex. And I think Ben did a great job in summing up a lot of Debbie's important work over the last 25 and a half years. I've had the pleasure of working with her for the last 13 and a half years. And I just want to acknowledge Debbie publicly and let this body know and our community know how important you are, Debbie, in our county's history. Debbie has done a tremendous job with the Historical Society of Palm Beach County, but as we're talking about today, she's also served our greater community in a significant way. And I think it's a real testimony to know that our Madam Chair and our Historic Preservation Planner for the City of West Palm Beach all had the pleasure of working with Debbie throughout their career, as I know many professionals have across our county. So Debbie, on behalf of the Board of Governors, I know our former chairman Harvey Orier is here, a current board member Penny Murphy, an executive member is here, and we're here, Debbie, to celebrate you and to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for the Historical Society and for everything that you've done for our community. Thank you.
Madam Chair and board members, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Not too many things that would pull me out of the house from time with my children at night, but this is one of them. And I've probably worked with Debbie longer than anyone in this room. I think all 25 of those years, 25 and a half. There is no individual in this county alive today that has done more to preserve the history of Palm Beach County than Debbie Murray. We would not have the archive that we have. We would not have the public accessibility to that archive. We may not even have the Johnson History Museum, but not for Debbie. So for the record, one of the most extraordinary contributors to the preservation of history in our community's entire history. So Debbie, on behalf of everyone, and in typical Debbie fashion, she came up here and said thank you to you. She deflects all of the credit onto other people. So an extraordinary lady. Thank you for recognizing her.
Well, thank you all and congratulations to our recipients. One final round of applause for everyone. Oh, wait, do we have one more?
One more.
Oh, sorry. I jumped the gun. We've got one more.
All right, our Craftsman Award. This goes out to Austin Historical. You need historical windows and doors? Repaired, replaced, replicated? Look no further than Austin Historical. Based in Orlando, not only Florida's, but one of the nation's premier restoration craftsman companies. Scott Austin Sidler, founder and CEO, serves as Vice President of Paramore Main Street District in Orlando and Vice Chair of Orlando's Historic Preservation Board. And besides that, he's also the Window Preservation Board Alliance member. A third-generation painter, plasterer, carpenter, master glazer, is a wide breadth of knowledge of historic design and construction techniques. I know he's had some hands in many projects here. I believe they're contracted to redo the windows in the historic courthouse in the near future. You here? Come on up here.
On behalf of Scott and the whole Austin Historical outfit, we thank you for this award. We love working here because we appreciate the wonderful community, the fact that you guys take pride and joy in your history, and we're looking forward to working on those courthouse windows. I am not Scott, I'm Doug. I work down here a lot, though, and represent a lot of our clients, so thank you again very much. We appreciate and look forward to continuing the work that you guys are looking to do to preserve not just windows and doors, but buildings and homes for this generation and generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add that, fenestration is such an important part of the character-defining features of a historic building. And so few property owners go that extra mile to restore the original windows, but it makes all the difference. And there's quite a few projects that have come before this board that have used Austin Historical, and so we're delighted to present you with this award this evening. Thank you. And congratulations again to all of our recipients. We now move on to remarks by our chairperson. So the matters before us this evening are quasi-judicial in nature, which means we base on our decisions on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us. We ask you to please keep that in mind while speaking. For each project, the applicant will be able to speak first. They will be provided 10 minutes for their presentation, 15 minutes in total if there is a demolition involved. I'll wait for them to leave the room. After the applicant presents, staff will present. Following staff's presentation, we'll open it up to public comment, which will be limited to 3 minutes per person. If you are planning to speak, you will have to fill out a comment card and give it to our board secretary. And after public comment, if the applicant so chooses, they may make a rebuttal. Following public comment and a rebuttal, we will go into executive session where we will render our decision. To lead into this, we need to let you know if we've had any conversations outside of this meeting, so we will now declare any ex parte communications. Mr. Buxbaum, would you mind beginning? Can you turn on your microphone, please?
As to matter, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, and I have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures in all written communications be part of the record.
As to matter 2460, I, Jeff Sheldon, have received written communications. As to all other items on this evening's agenda, I have not received ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, nor have I received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to matter 2460, 3411 Washington Road, I have had ex parte communications with the property owner and the architect and also received written communications from them. I have not conducted an investigation nor made a site visit or received expert opinions. As to all other matters on the agenda, I, Amanda Skyer, have had ex parte communications with Mr. Salata. I have not received written communications, conducted an investigation, made site visits, nor received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to all matters on tonight's agenda, I, Kristen Kellogg, have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
As to matter 2463, like Kyle Waters, I have a conflict. I will recuse myself. As to all other matters on tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications. I have not received written communications. I have not conducted an investigation. I have not made a site visit. I have not received expert opinions. I request that all these disclosures and written communications be made part of the record. Thank you.
As to matter of case number 24-60 on 3411 Washington Road, I gave Charles Lapsky, received an email from the applicant, which I have not replied to. As to all other matters in tonight's agenda, I have not had ex parte communications, have not received written communications, have not conducted an investigation, have not made a site visit, have not received expert opinions. I request that these disclosures and all written communications be made part of the record.
Thank you. We now move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone here to speak on an item that's not on the agenda? Now is the time to do so. Okay, seeing none, we'll now swear in our speakers. If you plan on speaking, please rise and raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, we have one consent case this evening, 2459, 2305 South Flagler Drive. Can we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. If your case number 24-59, 2305 South Flagler Drive, your case has been approved. Okay, and so the first matter that was we'll address was the case that was pulled from consent, which is 24-63, 831 Biscayne.
Note for the record that Mr. Shelton is leaving the room.
No, wrong person.
The applicant has left the room.
Is there a presenter for the?
But don't make it full screen.
You can do whatever you want. You're on the screen there.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Ashley Malivert, and I'm here as representation of LCA Architecture on behalf of 831 Biscayne Drive. It is an existing mid-century modern-style historic residence in Flamingo Park Historic District with a lot size just shy of 6,250 square feet. We are currently proposing an addition of 876 square feet to the north side, which is also the rear of the building, which I've highlighted in yellow. The home's bringing the existing square footage of the home from 929 square feet to a total of 1,794 gross. We've also have proposed an accessory structure with a square footage of 350 square feet and some general site work, which you can see on the site plan. These are some general existing site condition photos, the north elevation, south, as well as northwest. Here are a few other homes with similar conditions with an accessory structure that is set, not only accessory structure, but an addition that is beyond the house, which is not visible from the street. The addition and all accompanying changes will reflect the same qualities as the existing home in appearance, as well as blend seamlessly into the Flamingo Park Historic District, which we are attempting to attain the attributes of the neighboring homes in the district. We also have included some homes with similar characteristics, like I mentioned. We wanted to attempt to keep the charm and characteristics of 831 Biscayne without intruding on the lot size, as well as the street value. Here's the floor plan, as well as the accessory structure floor plan. Some of the design considerations that we have made is to sustain the stucco exterior finish to match existing home and the surrounding homes in the vicinity. We've implemented a metal decorative scroll columns to the entryway to give it the front elevation more of a facelift. The decorative doorway molding has been applied to accentuate the entry, and we have impact-resistant horizontal rolling windows or casements, which the windows that were currently on the front facade of this home were recently changed, and we want to sustain that aesthetic. These are the images for the accessory structure. We feel the design criteria and lot size make this addition a good fit for the home, and it meshes well into the neighborhood aesthetics overall. Any questions?
One of the things that we talked about in our pre-meeting is we were going to see if it saves any time to save our questions until we've heard both presentations. So if you have any questions right now, if you could just jot them down or make a mental note. We're going to try, see if this saves any time. So we'll have the staff presentation, and then we'll be able to ask questions of both of you at the same time for any information that wasn't covered between the two presentations.
All right, Benjamin Salata presenting HP Case 2463, additions, alterations for 831 Biscayne Drive. This is our location area right here. I should note that this is a minimal traditionalist home. It was in the Flamingo Park District and was added as a contributing property in 2009. The applicant has worked with staff to comply with the terms of the City Historic Preservation Planner. We believe this is a real good addition to an existing home. This is the site plan as shown. These are photos of the existing conditions. And there's several different sides. The request was a primary structure addition of 876 square feet and an accessory structure of 350 square feet. This is the floor plan as proposed. The front elevation. And Madam Chair, in our conversation, the notes 10 and 11, it calls for a new asphalt shingle roof to match existing house color and style, and a new gable siding to match main house size and profile. This is the rear elevation in the west. And finally, the east elevation. This is all four elevations of the accessory structure. And the roof plan, existing and proposed. The streetscape. We believe this does meet 9 and 10 codes, the Secretary of Interior standards. We recommend approval.
Okay. Questions of either the applicant or staff? Are there any existing drawings?
Of the existing property?
Yeah.
They're all kind of meshed together. It shows the change in front with the gable here, but the addition in the back is more or less just a square, and the accessory addition is new. So there's really not the comparisons that we normally see.
But were any elevations of the existing property submitted as part of the application?
No. You saw every slide we got.
I was also looking for a materials removal plan. Was there one that was submitted?
There was not.
And a demolition plan?
No.
Could you bring up the photographs again, because those are not in our packet, and at least I guess we could compare.
The house has a unique perspective, being on top of a hill surrounded by foliage. Photographing it was extremely difficult.
I'm also confused by the two entrances.
Okay, so the first photograph and the second are, the two others are not. This house is on a hill, which is also blocked by a lot of foliage. The third example and the fourth aren't related really to this project. I'm not
They're not related to this project?
No, this house is another house on Lake Ave, the third photograph.
Okay. Do you have any existing images of the property?
Yes, in my presentation. So this is the front. I don't know if that's visible for you guys. And then this is just the conditions beyond the front of the house, on the side as well as the rear. We did also submit a materials package with this submission. And these are just other examples. If you could reiterate your question, Not much has actually changed to the front side of the facade. It's more so because the addition was on the rear, you can't really see it from the front. So it wasn't, as you see this elevation for the front is how the house actually looks currently.
But you're adding a portico,
Yes, only to the front facade. That's the only thing we're changing on the front.
and you're adding, it looks like there's only 2 of those wrought iron pieces right now.
Yes, and we only added that one additional.
Okay.
So if you can show us the floor plan, I think that, okay, so I would assume that what is lighter are the existing walls to remain, I guess, and what is a little darker is the new addition.
Yes.
And are there any window replacement?
No, these windows actually just were currently replaced by the previous owner for impact, so we were gonna leave the front facade as is and then carry on beyond. We also delineated, I don't know if you guys see on the left side where existing and new begins.
Okay. And can you explain the approach with the east elevation as to why there's no fenestration in the addition?
To my understanding, it was also something that we wanted to revisit with the client. We weren't sure about how many openings we wanted to implement on that side, and we wanted to come before the board before we made any additional fenestrations. We do plan on adding additional egress windows to that rear primary, which is the new primary bedroom, as well as that bathroom. It's just something we wanted to revisit.
Okay. Well, I believe those would have to be approved by the board.
Okay.
So where were you planning to add those?
We were gonna add one to that bathroom, just beyond the existing bedroom number 2, as
Okay.
well as 2 in that primary bedroom along that east wall.
So on either side of the bed, or?
Either side of pretty much where those nightstands are
Okay,
depicted.
okay. I think that would help.
visually.
It's a large expanse of
Emptiness.
just blank wall, yeah.
So is this house on the property line on the east side, or you have some room to grow?
We do have some room along the east side, but I believe we wanted to just follow that existing line of the house, so we didn't want to go beyond into the setbacks.
Well, my concern is that by by making the addition flush with existing walls, it's like the existing house loses its character, right? So we usually try to, have a break where the new construction happens.
Okay.
Also to differentiate the roof, because in this case, the existing roof becomes absorbed by the new addition, right? Instead being a different roof.
We are also proposing an adjustment to the roof line. It was in the other presentation, so that's something we've considered as well. Thank you.
So were you hoping to get some direction from the board today as to what we'd like to see? Because it sounds like there are still some decisions to be made as to the design.
Aside from the fenestrations as well as the roof line, I think those were the only two shaky areas, but I know for the fenestrations, for sure, we did decide that we wanted to add windows post already submitting, so it wasn't something we could change at the moment, but we already had that discussion with the client where we do plan on adding further fenestrations and working on that roof line as well.
Is this a contributing structure?
Yes.
It was added in the 2009 update.
I'm just nervous about making a motion that includes demolition without a materials removal plan for a contributing structure. Because I want to make sure that we fully understand what the scope of work is. And it is an application requirement.
I'm having a little trouble following the front elevation and the house floor plan. I'm not seeing the portico displayed correctly on the floor plan. If you can see that. So it looks like there's a couple of columns that aren't really displayed in the elevation correctly with in relation to the door. So looks like one's missing as well.
I did have a chance to speak with the property owner before the meeting and asked him if he would be okay with us making that a condition of approval to maintain the current entry, because I think as a contributing property, this is a conjectural feature to add a portico like that. And he said he would be open to that. So I don't know if he had a chance to relay that to you, but we did have a chance to speak about that before the meeting.
I mean, I feel like we've given some design direction, and for me, the hangup is just that we don't have the drawings like the existing drawings or the materials removal plan. And I'm not, as a board, it doesn't seem like it's appropriate for us, if we don't have all the information, to approve work.
No, I agree. It's hard. It seems like it's a relatively straightforward addition, but I do think that we don't have the existing drawings, and that's, typically we like to see the existing over the proposed on each sheet, so that we can easily track where changes are being made. And we don't really have, we don't even have images in our packet of the existing, just the existing entryway. So I agree, I don't think it's enough information.
I feel like this would come back on the consent case with the alterations that were discussed today, and with that additional information, so that we could review it in our packet beforehand, and, not necessarily have a presentation again if that information has been adequately conveyed to us, in the packet.
And would you be able to give her an example of a materials removal plan from another
Absolutely.
case? That's something you don't always encounter with all properties, but with historic properties, it's something that we'd like to see, so we know exactly what's staying and what's going. Any other comments? So how does everybody else feel about the front entry? With the
I'm in agreement.
You're in agreement? Is everybody else, is that like a direction? Okay. So I think we'd like to see the front entry remain, the additional fenestration that you mentioned. I guess resolve any issues with the roof line. So typically, at a minimum, there's a score line in the stucco that indicates where the addition begins. But sometimes, I think ideally, we like to see a jog in the wall. So maybe 6 inches, or how about?
I feel like well, I would say 6 minimum, sometimes 8 inches is easier just because of the block dimension.
Any other feedback that we'd like to see? Okay.
If it's appropriate, I was going to make a motion to continue the case, but I wanted to check on the date certain for the next board meeting. Is it September 24th? Oh, I know, we still have public comment.
What?
We still have public comment.
Yes. Do you have any public comment on this case? Okay, seeing none.
24th. I'm just looking for the case number. This is 2463, right? Then is that right? 2463?
Yep.
The agenda I printed just isn't, okay.
Yes, 2463.
Thank you. I move to continue case number 24-63 for 831 Biscayne Drive to the September 24th, 2024 Historic Preservation Board meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And I want to revise my declaration of ex parte, as I failed to mention that I did speak with the property owner prior to this meeting. So 2463, 831 Biscayne, I did speak with the owner before. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next case is 24-34, 731 Cayuga Drive. And before we move on to that case, I think I was also thrown a little off by the preservation awards, but I did want to ask you if we could get a report on 3140 Washington.
Yes, I was in contact with the vice chair on that today.
Okay. Because I did go back and watch the meeting, because actually I wasn't at that meeting in July of 2022, and there was a condition of approval that the covered porch on the rear of the property be retained. And I went by that property yesterday, and only one wall is remaining. So that condition has not been met. So if you could please ask the architect to come give an update at our next meeting in September with photographs of the site and an explanation, that would be great.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so 731 Cayuga Drive.
Hi, everyone. I'm Callan Alpart.
And I'm Melanie Hill, and we reside at 731 Cayuga Drive. We want to begin by expressing our gratitude for your ongoing commitment to preserving the historic charm of our wonderful community. We greatly appreciate the valuable feedback and suggestions you provided during our last presentation in May. We have carefully considered your advice and made revisions accordingly. Tonight, we are pleased to have our architect, Jim Payne, to present our updated proposal and hope it aligns more closely with the historic standards.
Good evening, I'm Jim Payne, representing Melanie and Callan. You may recall this from the May meeting. We had some scheduling conflicts during the summer, so we're back now. And I just want to address what I believe were your concerns before. There was some remarks made about the proportion of the house, which is just, or the accessory structure, which by nature is tall and thin, but we've reduced the height by a foot, and we've reconfigured the floor plan so that the bathroom turns 90 degrees, and it adds 4 feet in dimension to the width of the facade, the street facade, and so that the addition is more typically proportioned. Also, there was a outdoor fireplace and cooking area where the bathroom was extended. And that's been eliminated because it had a 3-foot chimney above the parapet, and it just accentuated that height, which I think was a concern. Also, the stair, which now is a straight open stair along the east side, wrapped around the front, that was mentioned as a concern, so we did away with that. Then out at the sidewalk level, we had more fencing before, as you may recall. And we've gone with kind of a softer approach to that with replacing a lot of the fencing with hedges. We still have the gates. The gate design is a little lighter and stepped back a little from the sidewalk, so it's just kind of a softer presentation in terms of the gates. And one other concern was the, did we have any pictures of houses in the neighborhood where there was a 2-story accessory structure behind a 1-story house? And there are here, right on Canuga, in the upper left. It's the same house, but just with a close-up and a more distant shot. We do have that exact condition shown in the upper left of that page. And then in a different style of architecture on the lower left, same condition, the 2-story in the back with a 1-story house. Both of those are on Canuga, or the top one is on Canuga, the other one is on Park Place. And then another example that's kind of obscured by foliage on the right, also on Park Place, but it is a 2-story addition in the rear of a 1-story house. And I just wanted to go over those changes that we had made and not do a long, extended presentation. But if you have any questions, please ask me. And also, within this scrolling PDF, we have the old presentation. If you want to compare one to another, you may have it in front of you. But that's it. So thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please ask me.
Thank you. We'll ask questions. We'll reserve our questions until after the staff presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slaughter, City Historic Preservation Planner for HB Case 2434, 731 Canuga Drive. This is our aerial. This is the house existing compared to its proposal rendering. And some photos of the property from all angles. The request is for construction of a 988 square foot 2-story accessory structure in the rear of the lot and general site work, including new site walls, gates, and removal of a non-historical shed. This is proposed site plan. This is the floor plan proposed for first and second story. These are elevations. This is our streetscape elevation. These are the gate proposals. And this is the streetscape. We believe this addition meets criteria 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior's standards. We approve with one condition: that all windows should have clear glass, white or bronze frames, in low E permissible in sides and rear elevations.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant or staff?
It's kind of the same thing with the previous case, that we really need to see the before and after, because, you know, I appreciate what he explained, but really doesn't mean anything to us if we don't see it, right? So I
So
think
do you have a side-by-side, right,
Yeah.
of what you previously proposed? You said you had it in the, would you mind pulling that up?
I can scroll to that. It's on the PDF. And you scroll down to it. And the windows were also concerned, but we matched the 1/1 white windows. Okay, this is one view of the elevation before, with the chimney on the left, and the building is narrower. It's been extended 4 feet to the west, and the height has been reduced by 1 foot, so the proportions are more typical. Do you want to go back and forth a bit, or?
I don't remember, to be honest with you, from May, this case, so I would like to see what the existing property today and what you are proposing.
Well, yes, sir, I can go to that, in the upper left, you see the house, there's no structure at all. These are not attached. The house will remain exactly the same, the main house, and the accessory building is gonna be constructed. It's about 70 feet from the street behind. So there's, the existing house without the building is what you see there.
Okay. So all the work is done in this accessory structure? All the work is in the accessory structure, nothing on
The scope of work is a new two-story accessory structure, yes, sir. We're not doing anything to the main house. There's a bit of work out at the street line with the gates, the vehicular gate and the pedestrian gate in the hedge, and repairing that little 2-foot wall. But it's just a new building. Main house stays the same.
I think this reads a lot better from the street. The proportions are
It
well
makes a
thought out.
difference. It's 4 feet wider and 1 foot shorter.
Yeah, thank you for paying attention and making those adjustments.
And it was a concern of yours, and we have tried to address the concerns that you had at the previous meeting.
And we appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate your direction. We think it's better.
Good. Any further questions or comments? Do you have any members of the public that would like to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into executive session. I'm happy to see that the owners were so willing to work with us, so thank you for being so receptive to our feedback. We appreciate that. Any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
You have to read the very long script in your blue packet.
Oh, God.
I know. Now's as good a time as any to do your first official motion. Let me see what page it's on for you. So it's, there is one condition. So you're gonna go to that first page where there's a top paragraph. This is ad valorem, correct? Yeah, so it's the ad valorem tax exemption, the first paragraph, and then you're also gonna read the second paragraph, the one under it, and you're going to include the one condition in the staff report on page 6, which is that all windows shall have clear glass.
Okay, let's see how this goes.
Okay.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-34731 Canoga Drive for the addition ad valorem tax exemption in accordance with standards list 1 through 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. If conditions are imposed, in addition, approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation and Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards list 1 through 10, which states and/or the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations, specifically criteria C4A, list 1-9, which state, read criteria, the conditions include the following.
So I'd like to request that you amend your motion. So the standards that you're listing in this are standards 9 and 10. So if you go to page 5, you can list standards 9 and 10 and read the two standards. So page 5 of the report.
I'm here. Oh, I don't have that.
You need to speak into your microphone, though. So do you want to bring it up on your laptop?
I don't know why my computer is not.
It's always hard to make your first motion.
Running my business is easier. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I think it was.
Page 5. Am I giving you the wrong page number?
I think this is it now. Does it look like it? Yeah. The proposed project also complies with standard 9 and 10 of the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation, which state for 9, new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, and spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, scale, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. Standard 10 states, new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its, where are we here, Jeff? Environment would be unimpaired. No historic material will be lost.
You don't need to read that part, but that's good. And then the last thing is you just need to read the condition. So you see where it says with the following conditions, and it says number 1. So if you could just read that, all windows.
All windows shall have clear glass, white or bronze frames, and OG muntins with low E permissible on sides and rear elevation.
You got it. Do we have a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Case approved. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Jeff.
Our next case is case number 24-41, 245 Greenwood Drive.
Good evening. My name is David Mahoney on behalf of Yates and Associates Architecture, representing Josh Tate and his family for 245 Greenwood Drive. This is just to revisit where the property is. It's on the corner of Greenwood and Olive, 245 Greenwood to be exact. It's this non-contributing structure right here on the corner. Here are some photos of the existing property. The existing survey, and this was the previous submission that was, after some review from the board, we were given some recommendations to review all the setbacks because we had the house sited wrong. assuming Greenwood was the frontage of the property. After meeting with zoning and talking with them, it was determined that setbacks were all wrong. So the house was completely redesigned. We had to address the height of the structure at the rear of the property, which was determined as the rear of the property when facing Olive. The accessory structure was a two-story structure initially. It was overpowered, it was very tall and skinny. And then the massing overall of the house was just a big box, so we were asked to add a one-story element to the main structure of the house while also addressing the height of the accessory structure at the rear. These are all the comments that we jotted down during that meeting that I just revisited. After reestablishing the setbacks on our, using the survey, we redesigned the house completely. We were able actually to gain a bedroom after doing this. The house is an L-shaped house with a one-story structure in the back with only separating the accessory structure from the main house by 6 feet. So we are not able to take advantage of any of the exceptions in the code for FAR or anything like that, which we have totally, we're under all the required amounts for FAR and lot coverage for the property. And also addressing the massing, the one-story element, which I'll show in the elevations, is all the way to the right side, adjacent to the garage accessory structure. And we were able to, instead of, under the previous submission, oh, I'm going the wrong way. The majority of the house was only about 17 feet from the street on Greenwood. After redesigning, we only have about a 16-foot wide portion of the house that is up against the setback at, the corner setback is 12.5 feet, and I believe we have the house set at 13 feet, or 13'2". That portion is the only two-story portion up against the setback. It steps back to a one-story covered area over top of where we're labeling it as pool entry into the kitchen area. That two-story portion of the structure set back additionally from that is about 30 feet from the property line, whereas originally it was very massed on the side of the house at Greenwood. So I'll go over that in the elevations. Again, this is just a blow-up, just direct comparison of the two site plans that we had. We have a 25-foot setback along Olive, which is required, 5-foot minimum on the interior north side of the property. We have a 12.5-foot corner setback adjacent to Greenwood. We have a 5-foot accessory structure setback for the garage and a 10-foot rear, which we are plenty well enough away from the main structure. This goes over all the breakdown of what we're able to achieve. Additionally, with massing, we were able to bring the height of the house down by close to 3 feet. The accessory structure went from 24 feet down to 13 feet overall, which was requested to at least review. The two-story portion of the house adjacent to the neighbor, the next house heading east, is 38. The two-story structure doesn't start until 38 feet from the property line, where previously it was stacked right on the property line at 5 feet. So we took the board's consideration very, very serious and just started over in a 2-month time. So here's the floor plans, door and window schedules. We have 1 bedroom on the ground floor, kitchen, very open floor plan for the dining, family, and kitchen area. 3 bedrooms on the top, and we're able to get a media loft for his children to use as a secondary sitting area, gathering area, place to make noise. Then we have a sun deck overlooking the pool. Below up, these are just some enlarged floor plans looking at the same areas. Roof plan, we're looking at doing streetscape elevation. I added some dimensions to this in case there's another enlarged, so you can see some of the separations adjacent to 237 Greenwood. And the updated streetscape elevation along Olive, which is more, I think one of the other comments too that wasn't added to the presentation was that it was a very formal looking house. So a lot of the formal components were removed from it. There was a lot of extravagant bandings on the house, and we simplified it a lot just to make it as simple as possible. This is the side-by-side comparison of where we ended up and where we started between the 2 meetings. We think it's a much simpler design, much more straightforward, and it lends to another recommendation that was made for us to review colonial-style houses in the neighborhood, and specifically along Edgewood, which there's references to this and to that in here. This is all the context of the neighborhood. We have a mixture of 1- and 2-story houses. There's even a house with a 3rd story on it. But 237, we're trying to be as least imposing as we can to that property, paying attention to the fact that that house is a 1-story house and we are proposing a 2-story. More context for the neighborhood. This is some of the colonial style houses on Edgewood that we reviewed, made some more trips by. This is the front elevation along Olive, the rear, which is not really going to be visible from the neighbor at 237 Edgewood because it has an accessory structure in between them, but we had to provide that for context as well. This is Greenwood facing and the interior side that is on that 5-foot setback. These are some colored elevations. We were not able, because of the amount of rework we had to do, we were not able to get 3D renderings completed for this, so we wanted to do some shadow studies and some massing with colored elevations as part of this presentation. We're going for a very straightforward, smooth stucco finish, traditional style shutters, clear glass, a white roof, white body on the house, just very, very simple. Again, side-by-side comparison of the Greenwood elevations. Oh, that's the side-by-side comparison, went the wrong way, of the Olive elevation, which, being that that is considered one of the primary elevation along Olive, we treated that as the traditional colonial style and then also provided a very nice elevation along Greenwood that's complementing to the neighborhood as well. And this is just some of the materials we're looking at using and some comparison of style from different areas. These are not houses in West Palm Beach. And that concludes my re-presentation.
Great, thank you very much. It looks like you took the board's feedback
I tried.
into consideration to great effect. So we're going to do the staff presentation and then we'll ask questions of both of you. Thank you.
Good evening again. Benjamin Salata, City Historic Preservation Planner, presenting HB case number 2441, demolition new construction for 245 Greenwood Drive. This is the area location. This is the site plan versus architectural plan. This is something new you're going to see in presentations. We're in beta testing our new GIS, which has a lot more details of the neighborhood surrounding it. The blue are obviously contributing, the red are not. The green are to be determined. And we try to list in there what architectural style these houses are, and if they're named, we're going to show that on the GIS as well. And this is in beta testing. It should be available to the public pretty soon, along with the new website was just launched. And if you can't see the little dot in the middle, that's where we are. I'm trying to figure out how to highlight these things and not blank out everything else. This is the proposed right side elevation, and this is the previous proposal. And you can see the much colonial, the applicant went over a lot of this, so I'll try to go quickly. This is the structure currently. The request is for the construction of a 2,200 square foot 2-story primary structure, 1,557 on the ground floor, and 990 on the second floor, and the construction of a 1-story accessory structure at 411 square feet. This is the floor plan, ground and second floor. This is the accessory structure. The front elevation. The rear elevation. The Greenwood side. And the left side. This is the roof plan as proposed. And the streetscape. We do believe this meets 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior's standards. We recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the applicant or staff? I have a quick question. There's a proposed rendering. It says attachment B in our packet. It doesn't look, what style was this previously? like, when, I was not here at what was it, the June meeting? So what style,
I believe the rendering in the report is a different one than was presented here. I believe it's incorrect for this report.
okay, so that's,
Yes.
it says, yeah, attachment B, rendering of proposed, so that has
He
no
had the correct-
bearing on what we're
He
reviewing?
had the correct rendering in his packet.
Okay,
The survey sheet is also wrong. It looks for a different, like it's for a different project. Attachment A.
oh, yeah.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah, that's for a house on Airvale. Okay, so disregard attachments A and B in your packet. Is attachment C correct? Looks like it.
Yes, they're correct.
Okay. I don't know if attachment C is correct, because that seems to match the attachment B. Could you bring up your floor plan in your presentation?
Yeah, C is not correct.
Yeah.
D is
You may
not
have a
correct.
cross in this one. My apologies.
Okay. So so the entry is on what road?
The entry is proposed to be along Olive. And
Okay,
then there's a secondary entry for, guests and things along Greenwood, which is over here.
okay, so the existing entry is facing Greenwood, and you're proposing to change it to Olive.
Well, that's where the confusion was during the last presentation in, I believe it was the June meeting. We had assumed the frontage was on Greenwood. And then during the review and the back and forth, and we talked to zoning, and it was that on all these lots, the skinnier side is the front. That's what we were told. So we faced it to Olive and presented that as the front elevation, because we were told that was going to be considered the front property line. So our frontage is on Olive, with just an entry gate, potentially with a fence, and then a secondary entrance from the Greenwood side to the back, which would essentially be the backyard, for guests and things to come in through that side.
Do you have examples of other corner lots that have frontage on Olive? Because I'm just looking at the map aerial, and it looks like all of them are fronting whatever street the address is on, rather than Olive, for the corner lots. So that's confusing to me. Have you looked at other properties to see where they're fronted, where the front door is?
I haven't, I assumed when I was told this was the front that I had to face it towards Olive, so I presented that as the front.
I think you have two, is it correct when you have a corner lot, you have two frontages, Mr. Green, right? You have,
Rick Green, Development Services Director. Typically, as the gentleman explained, the narrow side is typically the front. You could have a double frontage lot, but for the purposes of addressing, the narrow side is always considered the front.
okay, even in the historic districts?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any further questions of the applicant? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session. So I think the applicant really took to heart the feedback that they received at the June meeting. I think transitioning from a 2-story accessory structure to a 1-story really made a big difference, especially on the neighboring properties that are so much smaller in scale. I just want to go on the record. I don't see that many precedents of corner lots in the nearby vicinity that have their front elevation facing Olive. Most of them are facing whatever the interior street is. But from what I understand, this is the direction that the applicant was given. So I don't want to make them go through a redesign if that was the direction they were given by city staff. Anybody else have comments they want to make? Or I think that it's successful, the change in architectural style as well.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, not too much to comment on this one. They really went above and beyond to address a lot of the comments. So much in the detailing, like for example, the staircase, where that positioning, I think that definitely mutes the sound for the neighbor. And they took that, there's a lot of little things that they took into consideration, so I think they did a great job.
Great. Any further comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Great.
Can't let Gerald have all the fun. So. And there's going to be 2, correct? One for demo?
Yes.
All right. I move that Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-41 for demolition in accordance with the demolition guidelines as set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
And
One more motion.
One more motion.
That was for the demolition.
I move that Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-41 for, this is new construction, in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, good luck. Moving on to new business, case number 24-60, 3411 Washington Road.
Hi, good evening. This is for 3411 Washington Road. It's case number 2460. Representing the owner, Chad and Audra Quist. Chad is here tonight. He's going to speak for a moment at the end. The scope includes we're proposing a second floor addition and onto the primary residence and an addition to the guest house. So on the images, the addition is going to be to the left on the east elevation. And then on the rear elevation, you can see it'll be on the right, and then we're modifying that accessory building. So the project is located in Prospect Park, was built in 1941. So it has the frame vernacular characteristics. It's located in the southeast portion of this district. Images of the residents, these are in your packet. So we previously presented this case in January and February, and we were approved with conditions. What we were proposing was a one-story addition to the primary residence and a two-story addition to the accessory building. We came back to staff with the plans that you see here, and we reviewed them from staff, and we met the conditions except for one. So the first one was the original siding be reclaimed and reused, reduce the mass and height of the accessory structure. What we did to the accessory structure, we actually went back to a one-story. We're not proposing a two-story accessory building. Retain the rear bay window. Number 5 was to restudy the window fenestration. 6 was restudy the handrail proportion, and then bring the accessory building from 1,100 square feet down to 1,000. The only problem was we had issues with number 4, and that was to push the owner's suite back 5 feet to the west to be in line with the 2017 edition. So what that was, these are the revised that we submitted to staff, which you can see we're showing a one-story addition, which is on the left, and we're showing the accessory building. That's a one-story accessory building. It's a little higher at the rear because it's got attic space. It's got non-habitable attic space. So we worked through this, and the issue was that pushing it back the 5 feet to that line, that red line that you see, and it caused a lot of issues. It was the functionality of the space. There's a lot of corridors that resulted. It wasn't just myself. We had other designers that were looking at this to try to make this work. And we really couldn't find a solution that kept the program elements that the client wanted. So we worked through a lot of things. So what that would have been was this first perspective shows what was being requested, was being pushed forward. It's not in line with the front facade. It's not in line with the second facade that's on the right. It's pushed back farther. So this is what was asked for, which we could not meet. This is what we were requesting, which was pushed forward. This is what was asked for to push back, which looks fairly similar from the street. Since we couldn't make that work, and we still wanted the space as the master suite, we wanted a powder room, a bigger laundry room, we are proposing tonight a second floor addition, which is what you see here. We are still proposing just a one-story at the accessory building, but a two-story at the primary. So this is just a simplified site plan. The areas in yellow are existing to remain, and the areas in orange are to be removed. On the primary structure, that's just a little porch, and on the garage, that's a storage area that we're proposing to remove. The areas in yellow on this are the existing. We're proposing to add the areas in green as an enclosed area. The area in pink is just a little porch area, and the area in blue is a pergola that covers the porch area. Just numbers if we need to go back and review this. This is an enlarged floor plan, so you can see that what we're proposing is on the primary structure, a bedroom at the south, an enlarged mudroom, powder room, stairs, and then on the guest house, the accessory dwelling, we're expanding the storage. We're adding a guest bedroom and a bathroom. So these are demolition elevations. We're showing some modifications to the openings, removal of some of the roofs to accommodate the additions, and that bay window that's on the rear, we are keeping it. There's a dash line there. The original drawing showed a window in that bay window, so we're going back to it being all a bay window without a door. Demolition of what's being proposed for the guest house. So existing plans, demolition. This is proposed first and second floor plan. You can see the second story has the owner's suite, balcony, primary bathroom, closet. This is the demo existing and proposed for the accessory building. So again, that storage is being taken off, and then we're adding a few areas. Roof plan, proposed. This is the proposed front elevation from the street with that second story. Side elevation, again, we're going to keep as much of the wood as possible from the areas that were taken off. We're using it, wood for the rest. Modifications to the railings, which match what is in the existing drawings. They're just raised higher to meet current code. Rear elevation with that bay window being maintained. Windows to match what is in the existing structure. Side elevation, and then the garage area. This is a street view, the center being the residence, and then you can see there's other 2 stories along that street. There's even a 3-story, couple 3 stories. You can see images of other 2 stories along that street. So this again is the 2-story addition we're proposing. We feel it does match the characteristics of the house. Same window type, same siding, same roof type with a gable end. Just to go back, this was also the what we were not able to achieve with the, this is what we're proposing with it pushed forward more, which we weren't allowed to do. This is what we were allowed to do that wasn't working, which is why we were doing the 2-story. Thank you for your time. I hope I recapped what happened before, and let me know if you have any questions. Chad Quist is going to mention a couple things as well.
Thank you. Chad Quist, the owner of 3411 Washington. When we initially bought the house, we bought it because of its character and its look. It's a very well-known house in the neighborhood. Most people comment on it, like it. We tell them which house, they know where we live. We worked hard and really wanted to keep the 1-story home. That being said, we did want to add an accessory room as well as modernize by adding some room to a master. As Polly said, and I won't go through all of the conditions that we worked hard to meet, the one pushing back literally 4 feet 7 inches created an impossibility with regards to us to get the space we felt was worthwhile relative to the investment, and thus the desire to go to 2nd story. The preference, to be honest, is 1 story, the way we could make it work with the 4 feet 7 inches. But if not, we have no choice but to go up to the 2-story to accomplish what we feel is a return on investment for us, while keeping the look and nature of the home. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please hold your questions till after the staff presentation.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slaughter presenting HB case 2460, not 02, excuse me, for 3411 Washington. This is our aerial. These are photos of the house as existing. This is the rendering as provided by the applicant. These are photos of the house from all sides. The site plan. The site is existing and proposed. And the request, which the applicant went over fairly well. The floor plan is existing and proposed. And the 2nd story is proposed. And this is the floor plan, the accessory structure, existing, proposed, overlaid. The east elevation and the north. I'm sorry, I'm going through these fast. They are redundant from both presentations. The west and the south elevation. This is the accessory structure on all elevations. We do believe this meets 9 and 10, the criteria of the Secretary's Interior standards. And the recommendation is approval. Thank you.
Okay, questions of the applicant and staff?
Question. What is your setback along that side that the two-story is on that? Is it 5 feet? Where it says adjacent,
10 feet.
it's 10 feet, okay. My only question was, leading to it would be, would there be an opportunity for enough setback and clearance to elongate the master to kind of wrap the pool instead of going up?
We did explore this. We actually went through working out a variance submittal. The property to the south is almost right on the property line, the building is.
Okay.
And this is a bigger lot, so it's requiring a 10-foot setback. And so they came back and staff came back and said, why don't you try a 5-foot? But the neighbor's not gonna, the neighbor would be here yelling about it, and it was just not gonna work. And so we thought about pushing it back more, and it just eats up too much of the backyard. It gets too close to that pool. So we've explored all that as well, and it just didn't make sense, the variance.
Thank you. It
So-
felt like we were at brunch and all of a sudden, oh, it's a buffet. Now there's a two-story. It was just it's
Yeah.
impactful.
Yeah.
Taking it all in, yeah.
No, we've been through months of back and forth with staff, so this has been,
I understand.
yeah.
Thank you.
Polly, was the material removal plan that you showed in your presentation, was that submitted?
yes.
Okay, because that was not in our packet.
The only ones that shouldn't have been in your packet was the renderings and then the street elevation. Those were added on.
Okay. Because that was gone through pretty quickly, and so that was my first time seeing it since it's not in our packet, unless I missed it. Is it in our packet, the material removal plan?
Yes, it is, it is. Yeah, I didn't go through it very long, just because I knew it was in there.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was similar, I think it's exactly the same as the one in February, except we're not showing removal of that bay window anymore. But yeah, it was the same walls at the south to be removed and at the north.
I'm sure you submitted it, but I don't know if it's in our packet. That's what I'm trying to find. Does someone see the page that it's on, the material removal plan? Oh, wait, here, is this it?
It should have said
It's so tiny.
No, we don't have.
I believe it's in Exhibit 3. but
We
yes,
don't
is
have
tiny.
it?
We have existing and proposed, but not demo.
Well, that's my concern, is that the report states that there will be no loss of historic material. And so I wasn't able to confirm that based on what's in our packet. So it's so small on the screen, I can't read it, and we didn't have a chance to study it. So could you go over that more in detail on what exactly will be lost? Because
There's-
I'm confused also by the bay window, because when you look at the existing and proposed, when they're stacked, it looks like they don't line up.
Okay, the proposed removal is, there's interior walls. And then we are removing this exterior where the orange is. The orange is that, it was let me see if I can zoom in a little. This was a 2017 addition for this closet, so that's where that orange wall is. But we're removing this south wall up to, I think it's 8 feet. Sorry. It's like 5 feet that we're removing. And then here is to add for a window. This whole bay window remains. We are taking off the door. So at the elevation, you saw dashed lines for removal, but that's to remove the door and to put back the window that would have been there. And then at the top, this is an existing covered porch, so we're demoing the columns. And this is an enclosure for the laundry room that we're demoing.
Okay.
Do you have that version, the one-story version? Can you put it here?
And the one story should have been part of because we added as supplemental materials, because I wasn't sure if everyone had been to those previous meetings.
And the yellow lines, the yellow walls are the ones that you were demolishing at that
Correct.
time?
Yes.
And I guess that the comment was that the master bathroom was protruding too much in front of the house, right?
The condition for approval was that we were to bring it back, the addition to this orange line here. So all of this had to be removed, and it just, we couldn't make it work and not push back too far into the rear yard. The owner didn't want to sacrifice as much lawn back here, and it just didn't work functionally. We just had too many corridors, and I provided a quick sketch, but we had gone through quite a few versions to try to make this work.
So, I mean, if we have to wait, what, the pros and cons of a one-story addition versus a two-story addition, because we can't accept the 4-foot, intrusion into I think that is a no-brainer, but.
I agree, but what are our options? Ms. Anderson, what are our options? So I guess there's. Well, we don't have a proposal for a one-story addition in front of us. We know that previously came before us and was approved with conditions that the owner said they're unable to meet, and now they've come back with a two-story addition. But obviously, it would be less of a negative impact to the contributing structure if a one-story addition was achieved. So can we go back? I think there was a request for administrative approval, which was asked of me, and I did not grant it. But obviously, in light of this newest proposal, it would be better to, I guess, remove that condition. So I don't know what our options are.
This is a new application.
This is a new application.
And the old application expire, probably.
Well, I guess it's still valid.
Yeah.
Ben, do you have any suggestions?
Again, Rick Green, Development Services Director. First of all, you have to act on the application that's before you tonight, so that's a given. If the board feels more comfortable going back to the original design, the applicant would have to accept that condition. But if you're okay moving that facade forward 5 feet like they had originally, I presume they could impose that as a condition, ask them to redesign, and then it could become a staff level review at that point, as long as they're consistent with what you had seen several months ago. And provided the applicant's okay with that condition, I think they should be given the option.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
Yes? Okay. So.
I mean, in my opinion, we are trying not to do two-story additions in lots like this that are not really necessary. Also, the accessory structure to have, an attic, and it's like tall as a two-story building is not right either, right? So that is what I am thinking, that, I understand that we wanted the bathroom or the facade pushed back, but that is probably the least of the evils versus a two-story house.
No, I agree, but.
And even more, if the applicant is in agreement, right? Because
Yeah.
that is their preference.
So have you changed the design of the accessory structure from that original submittal? So I think that,
We brought it from 1187 square feet down to 1,000. So we took, instead of there being it was like an art loft upstairs, we took that out. They mainly wanted it for storage anyways. So what we did and you can see on this plan, this is the one we came back to staff with after the February meeting. You can see it's a bedroom and it's a bathroom. I can pull up those elevations if you want to look at those. I have those as well.
so what would be, given the conversation that just happened, what would be your ideal scenario?
Ideally, we would like to go back to what was approved in February without condition 4.
Okay,
And at this submittal that we have, we've met the requirements for like the modifications to the windows, and we've met all of those requirements per staff, including like this being a 1,000 square foot structure. It was just that one condition we couldn't meet.
but you said the design for the February approval of the design for the accessory structure of the February approval is different from the one we're seeing tonight.
It was a 2-story.
So how would you like us to resolve that? You want the accessory structure being proposed tonight, or you want the one being proposed from the original application? Because I don't think we had any concerns about the accessory structure.
I mean, it can be from the one because this was approved at a staff level, what you see in front of you. Or
Okay.
you can approve what was done in February, and then this is just a response to that.
Okay.
Because that was already like, you'd had time to review it, essentially. And then this one, I mean, you could say with the 1-story accessory building.
Okay, so when you reduced the square footage to 1,000 square feet, the accessory structure, when was that approved? So that's a design that was approved, you're saying, at a staff level. So we never saw it come back.
No.
And this is the result of that, or is this different?
No, this is a result of the staff approval.
And when was that staff approval made?
I have the email. Do you want?
Well, I'm just wondering, was it when Frederic was still here, or?
No,
Okay.
Ben was here. It was probably, we came February, so it was probably April.
Okay,
It should have been, I think it was included as supplemental material.
Okay.
So it should be in your packet,
okay,
that email.
okay. Because I think it's easy to go back to that original February approval, but it's a little bit more confusing how to deal with the accessory structure, because you were expressing some reservations about the design of the accessory structure.
The current design, I don't remember the previous design. The current design, I think that is almost a 2-story structure just for 1-story, use, right? Because just to add an attic, they are adding a lot of height.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't agree to that. But I don't remember, do you have elevations of the accessory in this?
I have it on my thumb drive. I can pull it up.
Because you're supposed to be 1,000 square feet or less, and that's why you had to reduce it. That was
Correct,
why
yeah.
it was a
Mhm.
condition of approval.
And that wasn't brought up prior to the meeting, and it wasn't even discussed at the meeting. And then afterward, after further review by staff, they said, oh, by the way, it has to be 1,000, so that's why we brought it down.
Okay. I'm trying not to continue the case.
Yeah, yeah. Do you
I'm
want,
trying to get you out the door with an approval.
do you want me to bring up those?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, we cannot vote on a case that was already
Well, because
approved for
I think
condition.
what Mr. Green is proposing is we approve the case with the condition that they go,
Back to the previous case.
and then they have to go with that accessory structure? And then, that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, I think you can.
But that previous accessory structure was over the allowable square footage, right? So that's the problem.
I see.
you can impose a condition that the accessory structure be reduced to under 1,000 square feet.
But then we wouldn't see the design, which I think the architect on the board is expressing some concern about the design that was approved at a staff level at 1,000 square feet.
So if you want to see the design, you're going to have it come back. So, or, yes, you're going to have it come back.
Because we can't bifurcate, we can't
No.
say go forward with the,
No, if you want to make sure that you can impose that condition that it be under 1,000 feet, but if you want to approve the design, you're going to have to bring it back.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the decision. So number 7 was to reduce it from 1187 to 1,000. That was added after the meeting. So number 1 through 6 were the conditions agreed on during the meeting. So when we came back at a staff level, this is the letter that we got from Ben, as far as agreed, all of this met these
Mhm.
conditions. And then these are the elevations we included, which included all of. And so what we were trying to do on the accessory dwelling is make this a non-habitable attic space, so it doesn't meet like living conditions, so it's not considered for square footage, but we just needed space to get some storage.
Okay. So is there, Mr. Jaroslavsky, is there anything you would want to, I guess, because we could impose conditions in addition to bringing it down to 1,000 square feet, conditions on how to implement that? I mean, is there something that you would like to see different, that we could somehow weave into the conditions of approval?
On the accessory structure, I would like to see it lower.
Okay, lower, how many feet? Putting you on the spot.
I think that at least 2 feet lower. So if the bottom of the truss is at 8.4 and the upper one is at 12.7, at least, half the distance. Because like this shows like a 2-story structure, right? Like it's like a two levels, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, it's too tall for an accessory structure of these characteristics. I may be wrong.
So how would you phrase that, so the accessory structure be reduced to 1,000 square feet and the height of the building not exceed X amount of feet?
Or we can say that the upper bottom of truss cannot exceed 10'7".
Okay, 10'7". I hope you're gonna make the motion if we're going forward with this. That or I'm passing the gavel.
Do we have a case number?
I think the property owner is just deciding if they're going to agree to the 2 feet. Yes, you may address the board.
I appreciate the questions and the dilemma, I really do. If we reduce it 2 feet, which I understand what you said, that will reduce the outside to about 3 feet, in the middle to 4.5. That's all that will be left there for storage. The previous structure that I believe the board did approve with the room up higher was even taller than this. So this was reduced to accommodate that and get rid of the second. So I guess it's, if we take that 2 feet out, I feel like we're now just in this little crawl space that isn't gonna be that functional. So that's my concern, and that's what we were talking about. I'm sorry.
Do you think we might be able to split the difference of 1 feet, come down 1 foot, compromise?
Sounds like my customer's negotiating. Yeah, if that's what it takes to, keep spending the money.
That
it's
window,
killing me.
that window can be shrink by a foot. It's gonna look nice, actually nicer probably.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the facade, we can do whatever we need to do that. I'm just trying to get at least a reasonable space where you're not crawling to put stuff up there.
I think your point is it's just an awkward height for a one-story. Right, Mr. Jaroslavsky,
Yeah.
that's your
Yeah,
point. is-
I think that doesn't feel right, you know.
No, I understand. I know behind it, there's a two-story, even taller, but it's outbuilding, but.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, if it would have been a two-story structure that you use, the upper floor and the lower floor, then makes sense, has a reason for it. But for an attic doing such a, tall structure, I don't think that has a reason, or a valid reason.
Okay. I can live with the one then, if that's what it takes, so.
Okay, we
All
got
right.
a deal. Thank you. Okay, so, are you clear on, wait, sorry, do we have any public comment? Okay, seeing none. I think we,
Do we have the case number, the old case number?
The old case number is 2402.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
So, and the applicant is okay with this, right? Okay, so I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-60 for ad valorem pre-construction alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10, as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations, and the conditions include the following. The condition number 1, for the applicant to go back to the previously approved case number 24-02, except for condition number 4, which is voided. Second, the accessory structure must be reduced to 1,000 square feet maximum, and the bottom of the truss on the accessory structure cannot exceed 11 foot 7 inches.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is 24-58, 2605 South Olive Drive.
Good evening. For the record, David Lawrence with David Lawrence Architecture, representing Mr. and Mrs. Ford, who are here in the audience tonight. And they brought their picture of the original house with them, so I will share that with you in a little bit. This vernacular style structure, accessory structure were constructed in 1924. It was originally a boarding house, and they bought the house and wanted a layout that would, more meet their needs as a single-family user. So they contacted us, and we looked at everything. As a boarding house, the house didn't really address this beautiful yard that it has to the north. So we designed an addition a new master suite, because being a boarding house, all the bedrooms upstairs pretty much used one bathroom, you know, like they did back then. So let me just show you this picture real quick.
Did Mr. Jaroslawski just leave? Okay, just because we don't have a quorum, so should we wait for him to get back, or? Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure before you go into your whole presentation.
I can just show you this.
That's great. That's great. Can,
We probably should wait, but,
okay. Do we want to take a quick 5-minute break if anyone needs to use the restroom while we're waiting for them to get back? Okay, we'll take a quick break. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Oh, and he's back, but we'll still take the break. We'll be really quick.
That's interesting. Since you stepped out, I'll just show you this picture. Since you can just go on. This is the original picture, the original boarding house back from the postcard many years ago. It was a postcard they enlarged. They found it. Sure. Oh, cool.
Okay. I think we just need to wait for the board secretary to get back. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Just as you were like, finally, it's my turn.
I get 2 more swings at bat, I think, but this is my
I
first
know,
swing.
we've been here late together.
We have.
You've been here for some of our 10 PM meetings.
Yep. Yeah, I've been bringing up the rear a few times, but this time, thankfully, I'm not.
Sorry, just a few more minutes.
Okay. All right, well, we'll resume. I think where I left off before we took a little break was that, we redesigned it to meet the needs of the Fords, and since this is their residence, so. So this is a site plan of a proposed project, and you can see here, this is the addition in the back. The idea is to reconfigure this. They wanted a little gym here. They took this guest apartment here and kind of made it a little more of a cabana area, and cleaning up the kitchen a little bit to communicate more with this back here. So just kind of move through. These are some context pictures. This is, and it's interesting, earlier this evening, we talked about having a house that faces olive, and this indeed is a house that faces olive. So there you go. There's your example, right? This is the subject property here. This is a house immediately to the west along Pershing, and then this is the subject property on Olive, and then this is the shopping center to the south, and then this is the accessory structure of the single-family home to the north, and then these are some properties that are across the street. So I'll kind of show you before and after. One of these slides got mixed up, so I'll have to jump through this real quick. I guess I should, why don't we start with this? This is a context elevation along Olive, showing you the existing single-family home here with the accessory structure, and you can see this is the end of that shopping center, and then this is the house with the addition, this is the house without the addition. So I'll just flip here. This is existing, that's proposed, and this is the second floor existing, and that's proposed. So you can see what we're doing. And this is just the roof plan, and the roof is working within the below subsidiary of the primary mass of the existing primary structure. So this is the existing house that's proposed. And what we're doing here is removing, if you look in the picture, you can see that from the foliage and everything that this this balcony here was probably a trellis, so we're converting it back to a trellis here, and then on this side here, let's see, what changes else do we make? So this is the rear where you can see the sunroom here, and This is showing you where we have added a trellis so that they can walk in the shade between the gym and, you know, that little cabana area. So this is existing, and this had kind of some unfortunate little posts that kind of hold it up and looks quite lopsided. So what we did was we introduced kind of a stronger element and anchored it more here, and that also gave us the benefit of getting better use out of that garage. But you know, makes it. And then the other thing that we did was reproportion these a little bit so that they are more in line with the proportions of the windows in the existing house. It was more kind of more modern and connected to a more like it was before. So then you can see here on the accessory structure, there's no changes over here. And then this is where we kind of added a little folding doors to allow them to enjoy their little cabana area over here on the accessory structure. And this is a section of the addition. It's 8'6". It's going to exactly match the existing, so there's no change in elevation in terms of you know, new to existing. And then these are the renderings. This is the rendering from Olive. This is the rendering from the north of the pool area, and this is the rendering from Pershing, showing the changes to the accessory structure along with the trellises you can see on the primary structure. And that's what we have.
Great, and now we'll have the staff presentation followed by questions.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slaughter presenting HB case 2458 for 2605 South Olive Avenue. This is the aerial shown. Our site plan for the rendering. These are photos of the house existing and surrounding area. The request is for approximately 862 square feet to an existing residence. It's the floor plan existing versus proposed. The second floor plan. The east elevation. The west elevation. North and south for the last one. This is the roof plan, existing and proposed, and the accessory structure. And I'll highlight some of the areas where the applicant pointed out with the columns. The streetscape, and our GIS overview. We do believe this addition meets criteria 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior standards. Our recommendation is for approval.
Okay, questions of the applicant and staff?
The only comment that I would have, and I want to know your opinion, is not, it's just my personal opinion, but don't you think that the addition should be a little lower? The roof of the addition should be a little lower than the main house, just to differentiate it a little more. Would that create a problem?
It would, from the standpoint that that's the primary bedroom. So, and the ceilings are 8'6" as they are.
Okay.
I would say that given the break in the mass of the building, that as within the Secretary's standards, the idea is you try to have an offset, and I think that that might. I respect your comment. I just would say that might be sufficient to address that. It's just 8'6" is not a super high ceiling, so lower than that in the primary bedroom area would be difficult for me to. Well, I don't think he agrees. So.
Yeah, we don't have a section in our package, so I didn't know the height. So, yeah, 8'6" is minimum.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Otherwise, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's an addition that works well with existing, can be removed in the future and will not do anything to the existing house, so pretty happy with it.
I agree. I think it's well located. And I think the other changes that are made, I'm your neighbor. I don't know if you realize that. So I know this house very well, but it's interesting the changes that you're making, specifically on the Pershing side. I think resolve some areas that I've always thought about, that doesn't look quite right. So I think the trellis is a good addition, and I don't think I ever fully registered that piece over the garage was a little, I guess, pop-out addition that was added. So I think you're giving it a more substantial columns of support. So I think that makes sense, as well as does the trellis. So, yeah, if you'd like to.
I'll just kind of, yeah, so what he was saying is those pillars are right in front of the garage door, so it's
It makes it not usable.
Not terribly functional.
Yeah.
Let's steal your thunder there. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I think it's a good application. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session. Would someone, any further
I'll do a
comments?
motion.
Okay, great.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-58 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 10 set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning and land development regulation. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, project approved. Thank you. Our next case is 24-55, 2416 Medina Way.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Russell Rosicki, architect, and I'm representing the interest of Rob and Sarah Hilmer. This is 2416 Medina Way. Just to give you some history on the property, it's a large lot, 135 by 100. Part of this main home was the guest house for the lot just north of it. We are proposing a detached structure today to be set back approximately 108 feet from the lot line at the front, which would actually be right where there is a current pool in place. So the pool that you see here in this photo will end up being relocated and adjusted. Here we have the streetscape elevation showing the two-story detached structure. It's basically a little shelter for shade. It has a little bar area down at the first level, suitable for the owner to have a sauna and ice bath, as well as a bathroom to access directly, conveniently from the pool. The plot plan indicates the location of the detached structure. It's primarily eastward on the lot, or southeast. The lot does have kind of this barrier knee wall that's always been present on it. We still meet the setbacks proposed as 5 feet 1 and 5 feet at the south side. We have a separation distance of 22 feet. We are requesting the detached bonus as well as green design to achieve this design. The square footage for the proposed structure is 717 square feet, well shy of the 1,000 square feet allowed for a detached structure. We do have an outside stair, and it's very porous once I start to show you the elevations. So there's currently no detached structure on the property. Again, this is a new structure being proposed. It's being proposed as concrete block. This covered patio space is open on two sides. 50% of that area is counted as floor area. 100% of the spaces that are enclosed are counted. The stairway is located at the east side with a walk up to the second story, which includes a guest bedroom suite. We have utilized in-swing French doors, which is consistent with the house today. They have beautiful Juliet balconies that are very decorated with overextending roof lines, with bracket arms. We picked up on some of those components. We introduced shutters, although you may see in the photos of the existing house that there's no shutters. If you may recall our previous application for the main home, all of the windows were receiving shutters. So this structure is also designed for shutters to be proposed for the windows. We have fabric awning that extends the shading area without interrupting the circulation space adjacent. And this gives you a view looking from the east. These windows do get kind of a peekaboo on an angle to the water. So this was intentional to locate our stair here to gain access to the second story. The proposed ceiling height for the lower level space is 10'6". Second floor is 9 feet. We have an approximate floor framing cavity of 1 foot. Again, this is concrete block with a wood truss roof. Uniquely, the existing house has what we call bottom chord truss bearing, where the eaves display flat along the exterior, and then rafter tails are added to the underside of the flat eave. I'll show you some photos of the existing house at this moment. So here's that projected eave, which is flat with the rafter tails that are added to it. This is from the street view on Medina Way looking across. This property is very vegetated, and as you look across, it's even doubtful to me, although it is street facing, someone could remove the landscape at any point in time. The structure itself wouldn't really be visible with the landscape currently on the lot. This is a view of the home. Again, it's not contributing. This property is not contributing. There was multiple additions added on over the years, and I think as Anne presented it, the only reason it's not contributing, even though it was finely done in the past, is because of how many additions took place over 50 or 60 years. But it was done very well. Here's the existing property survey. And then the Pella Reserve series is a traditional series that has a wood clad to it. We would like to propose these windows. It's also the same windows that are being used on the primary home. I do want to make a correction though. Here I'm showing barrel roof tile on this slide. It's actually concrete S-tile in the Capistrano color, which looks just like vintage here. But concrete S-tile obviously has a different lap and look, but that's what the house currently has on it, pre-existing. So it was my misunderstanding at first, but I'd like to correct that for the record. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slaughter presenting HB case 2455, new accessory structure at 2416 Medina Way. Our location aerial. Site plan photos. Request is for detached two-story accessory structure, which consists of a pool cabana guest suite. This is the site plan, and they have the guest house is 717 square foot. The streetscape. This is also our JS confirming that this is a non-contributing property. The floor plans, first and second story is proposed. The elevations. The roof plan. And we do believe this meets codes 9 and 10, the Secretary of Interior standards. We recommend for approval of one condition, that the rafter tails are constructed of real wood and not composite material foam mold. The tile is kind of new to me too. If you want to consider that condition as well, I accept it.
Okay, questions of the staff and the applicant? So is this a carport? It's not open below?
I'm sorry, on this view, are you asking, is this a carport?
Yeah, I'm not understanding
Oh,
the
it's-
elevation that I'm seeing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is basically an open space that has a bar area for guests to be seated and served. And then it also has an ice bath as well as a sauna underneath. There's no vehicular parking. It's open
And
on
you-
two sides. This is
And it
the-
doesn't have walls because,
It doesn't have walls because the owner would like it open and porous on the lot in terms of visibility through it, and also for shade. She has no shade structure. If I were to go back to the plot plan, currently it's been demolished. Previously, there was a covered terrace, which was not a permitted item, and we had recommended removal of it, which she had done. And adjacency to the pool has no cover or hangout spot. So she was looking for kind of a cabana access, also a hangout area, sauna, ice bath. It's very porous intentionally on the first floor.
and what are your historic precedents for this accessory structure?
The historic precedents in the sense are, if I can go to, yeah, sure.
And this is a contributing structure, correct?
Non-contributing structure.
It's a non-contributing structure.
Your aerial view is perfect for me, actually.
All right, here you go.
Okay, so the lot is outlined in red. This, as we know, is a new construction site on the corner, and there's also a new construction site here. It does have a large second story, two-story detached structure. This adjacent property to the north, which was the original property, which this had a guest detached structure for, also has its own guest house. A lot of primary homes have secondary detached structures, as you can see in this image. Mediterranean in style to match the existing home.
And they're open on the first floor?
No, they're not. Yeah, intentionally, we designed this to be open for poolside access, and for the enjoyment of a shade space adjacent to the pool. To me, it doesn't read as a carport or vehicular parking structure. It reads to me as a cabana with shade structure. I've seen that elsewhere in the neighborhood. I can't really chart off certain addresses, but certainly contributing structures have had, cabanas in detached structures.
But usually they have walls, like with doors that open up, that allow you to then open it up. It's not, so, because doesn't that give you a workaround to the square footage requirements when you have it completely open? And then addition to that, you have the green design bonus, which I do want to talk to you about that, because we're
Sure.
seeing that on every single project.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think most properties have energy efficient appliances, they have low flow sinks and toilets. And so I don't know, I think my concern is the green design bonus is allowing projects to exceed the size, scale, and mass regulations that have been developed for each historic district. So this is that double dipping, and I think, did this happen with another project, or was that another architect? It might have been another architect, but we had another architect that I think was using both of those things. And so I'm not an architect, I will let our architect on the board to opine, but that's kind of a red flag for me.
Okay, I understand your position. If you don't mind if I respond to that.
Sure.
The home is obviously, of decent size, but it's on a very, very large lot, unusually large, 133 by 100. So in the context of the property and the way the zoning is written, it actually makes the larger lots have reduced floor area and building footprint. As I recall in previous conversations on the subject of green design, with what it was and documented on previous hearings, it was said, as long as 3 or 4 of our bullet points are kind of hit, green design is achieved, with the goal being energy efficient design in any capacity, somewhere more efficient than building code requires. So like, for instance, the mechanical systems, we require a minimum of 20 SEER. That's 20% more than the standard requires. Building code requires 16 SEER mechanical systems. So our notes here for green design also apply to the main home, which is currently under construction, which this board has approved. And with respect to those notes, that means that we're filling insulation higher than standard requirements in the cavity. Again, the mechanical systems are 20 SEER on that other application. So we had this in mind at that time, but it was not proposed or planned for. We just designed for it. So I think with the city's goal of sustainability, our application is consistent with the green space request, as long as we design an energy efficient building. Sorry for my loss of voice there.
I wish it was more rigorous, because I think probably when it was introduced, these were relatively new concepts, and now it's become pretty much standard practice that most properties incorporate these, energy efficient measures. Does anyone else want to comment other than me?
I'll comment. I'm looking at it a little different way. It's got 2 questions. The first one is, if that was to be enclosed, I understand the functionality, heading out to the pool. I think it's really neat. I would love to have a spa and a little ice bath right by the pool. That's cool. If you put doors, windows, or method of egress, does that affect the ratio? That's question number 1, followed by, if it's left open, I'm not an engineer, maybe the architects can help me out with that. What's our wind load? Like, are we worried about, should a hurricane come, does this not sustain the right wind load and be lifted up? I don't know, by not having a wall. So those are the 2 questions that I have.
Yeah, so I'll respond to the structural aspect. I mean, we would be responsible for designing the wind pressures on the underside of the floor framing to receive that load, and it would be an exterior exposure. And the spans and openings are designed with beams to support the story above. And then as to your first question, I think it was, if this was enclosed, does that affect kind of the floor area or the ratios for building footprint? Yes, it would. So it's a 50% reduction to keep this as open on the floor space. But if I go back to, let me just see if the zoning chart is here. No, it's not here, but there's a zoning chart included in our submission. The building footprint is where we're asking for that green design to be applied. Previously, we had made an application to bring this home into conformance. So we brought this home into conformance with building footprint, because previously it was built, with today's code, it was not conforming. So we brought it into compliance. Even with this application, it remains in compliance. So with the projects that we've proposed, we've only reduced building footprint, but with today's compliance standards, the building footprint would be in excess if we were to enclose that first story. Floor area would not be in excess, because we had some tolerance there on the zoning chart. Okay. So the maximum floor area ratio allowed by the lot is 0.46, with the exceptions listed. We are proposing 0.453, so just shy of the limitation. The lot coverage is 22.7%, just shy of the limitation of 23. But if we were to enclose it, it would actually bring us a little too close, a little over that lot coverage. So was it strategically designed to not exceed lot coverage? Yes. Are we requesting green design? Yes. We would also be happy to prove all the green design standards are implemented. If there's a follow-up of some kind that I can do with Ben at a staff level. I'm a lead AP. You know, I have an interest in designing energy efficient buildings. And, you know, we design structural, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, so I have a first-hand control on all of these subjects in my drawings. So when I make the statement that it will be designed with the green design methods, you know, as drawn, that's something that, you know, I care about. So I can help to ensure at least compliance on the project because I am visiting the job site.
I'd love to see you take it one step further. Maybe you can incorporate cisterns into your projects.
Thank you. So I have some reservations about that, especially this property is just a little unique in the sense that it is in a flood zone. So a good portion of the lot, including adjacency to where our structure is being proposed, if you see these elevation notations, and with the county possibly adopting the new FEMA maps, which is in contest at the state level, base flood elevations are even rising to 7 feet. Right now it's currently 6. If you look at these grade lines, this property is essentially, you know, underwater during a high tide, that kind of thing. The soils are saturated. So stormwater collection doesn't, unfortunately, provide much benefit here in this sense.
And so previously, your previous approval, I'm seeing in our report here, you took a garage and turned that into a carport with breeze block walls.
We did. And the intention of that was, we have a pre-existing front yard setback, which is 15.18. We reduced that. We weren't requesting any special exceptions or green design in the last application. There was actually an intentional strategy of mine not to, and that's because for non-contributing structures, for green design, the second story, you know, needs to be set back an additional certain quantity of feet, but nonetheless, our goal wasn't to make the second story large. We were trying to keep the one-story portion, if you see where that's labeled. So our recommendation to the client was to keep it back a bit so that we can reserve the detached bonus and green design on this application. But again, we designed the main home with green design inclusive.
Okay. Any further questions, comments?
Only if you are going to use 5-fold faced insulation, like it says here, make sure that it's perforated.
Thank you.
You don't want to use faced insulation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Do we have
you.
any members of the public that wish to comment on this project? So we'll go into executive session. Would anybody like to start? Okay, I'll start. I mean, I think this building needs walls on the first floor. I think it needs walls and it needs fenestration. I don't think, that the design style takes its cue from the surrounding historic district. I don't think there was any precedent imagery to support, basically an open one-story, an open building on the first floor with a second story above. I think there's plenty of properties that, in this neighborhood specifically, that have cabanas, either one-story cabanas or two stories, but they all have operable doors. And so that's what I would like to see this application come back with, whatever reductions need to be made in order to bring it into alignment with the requirements and for it to have windows and doors. I don't know if everybody else agrees with that, but that's how I feel.
I agree with you. I think it needs to be in line.
Okay.
I agree too, especially since, you know, we have the breeze block walls. We're essentially from the street looking into like, into these spaces that are kind of like not really, well, one's gonna be a carport, the other is gonna be a finished space that's kind of like a gym and hasn't, an outdoor kitchen as well. Is that what was happening there? So that's gonna be visible from the street? Yeah, I can't really get behind that.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to, you know, the rhythm of solids and voids, you know, as you're going along the street, what you were indicating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, with that, would someone like to make a motion to continue? Do you need, next meeting or, okay, thank you.
I move the board to continue case number 24-55, 2416 Medina Way to the September 24th, 2024 meeting.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is 24-57, 736 Sunset.
Hi again. Again, for the record, David Lawrence with David Lawrence Architecture for Yuma Hamed. He's here in the audience tonight. He purchased a house, I think, a few years back, and he's got a growing family. And this is a triple lot. We were in front of you guys a while back over a double lot, so this is a triple lot. I know that in the past, the Flamingo Park people were very concerned that we were going to come in with a plan to divide it. I did speak with Linda Cullen. We did try to set up a meeting with them. We could not get it done in time, but I did send an email to them with all the pertinent information and agreed to talk to them, anyone that wanted to talk to us. So the house is originally built in 1926, just like the other one. It is, or 24, I'm sorry. It's more of a vernacular style. So what we're doing with this is kind of bringing it into compliance with what the client was really wanting his house to have in it. So this is the context to the neighborhood. The subject property is here, and to this is, if we go from start at the north side, this is the property on the far west corner, and then directly across the street are two-story properties. And then if you look down the street, there are other two-story properties along with this one. So these are some pictures of the site. This is the existing cabana. This is the contributing cabana that we're proposing to add on to. And this is the non-contributing accessory structure, which we're proposing to remove. It's just made with T111 siding and, you know, not a very attractive building, So we're taking it out. So this is the a context elevation showing this is the existing, this is proposed. All of this is set way back, and you see in the initial perspective that we're setting everything back as far as possible and folding the additions back around the side of the house in order to allow the main existing contributing structure to be the dominant element of the composition. This is the existing site plan, and this is the proposed. So we're adding a 3-car garage, family room in the back. So as you can see here, this part of the house is all the existing part, and everything that we're adding to it is set substantially back so that the existing house, is what you read when you come down the street. So this is the existing floor plan. This is the proposed floor plan for the first floor. This is the existing second floor plan, proposed second floor plan. Existing roof, proposed roof. As you can see, everything is set back to give the existing contributing structure the most dominance on the street. Existing front elevation, or existing elevations, proposed elevations, existing, proposed, whoops. So this is the accessory structure over here, and we're trying to make it have a character that is more in line with the existing, the front house, more of that style. These are the sections. What we have done is the bedrooms that are on the back of the property, because the ceilings are low, they're 8'2". So on the back of the property where you don't see it, very much like what we did at 3408, the streetscape maintains the look, and in the back we have another foot to get the ceilings in to be a little bit more in line with today's expectations. These are just some details of some of the existing design elements that are on the existing structure that we'll be using on the addition as well as preserving them. So this is the proposed. As you see, what we're trying to do is all this is set back and folded around the building, so that this is what you're reading, and this is the view from the street from the west looking southeast. So this is the addition over here, and this is a picture from the backyard showing this, and this is the accessory structure. That's it. We're well under, if you look at the charts, we're well under. We are not maxed out in any way, shape, or form in FAR or coverage or anything else. So.
Okay, thank you. We'll save our questions to after the staff report.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slot presenting HB case 2457 for 736 Sunset Road. Our aerial, our site plans, the rendering photos from different angles, photos of the house from the rear and the non-contributing shed selected for demolition. They're requesting the demolition of non-contributing accessory structure, additions and alterations to the primary structure, first and second story, a rear porch, the primary structure, and accessory structure alterations, both first and second story. The floor plan is existing and proposed. I highlighted some of the notations so it's easier to see. The second floor plan. In the north elevation. The south elevation. This is the existing proposed for the east, and finally the west. The roof plan, existing and proposed. The accessory structure, existing and proposed. And all four elevations. This is a streetscape view elevation. We do believe this meets codes 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior standards. We recommend approval.
Maybe I'm missing it in the packet, but do you have a, oh, wait. I think I found it, okay. I found it. The proposed site plan. I'm just still trying to understand the new way that it's being presented. Okay.
We understand, we're trying new things.
Okay, questions of the applicant and staff? Mr. Lawrence, was there an iteration where the garages were not incorporated into the primary structure?
No, we didn't do that just because they wanted that connection. We did pull them as far back reasonably in the design that we could. We side load them, which, we should do given all the room we have. But we talked about it initially, but the client felt that for safety and everything, they really wanted to be able to come in, close the door, and be inside.
And historically, I know you're aware that this board does not typically approve. I can't think of an instance where we approved an attached garage to a contributing structure, a contributing primary structure.
Okay.
So that's my biggest issue. Is historically, a garage would have been an accessory structure for a building of this time period. And so I know there's many, many properties on large lots where they've had an existing accessory structure, and we've encouraged them to build a third structure for a garage. So is that something your client would be open to exploring?
Can I just confer? for a
Sure,
moment?
yeah. I think it makes the building, I mean, it's doubling. If you look, it literally is, the garage is doubling the length of the building. Is there a limitation on how long a building can be? No? Okay. I know there is in Palm Beach. I think it just, the size of the addition, even though I think they were thoughtful about setting it back, I think the addition just overwhelms the original structure.
I think that in West Palm Beach, there are no maximum on length, but there are limitations on the straight facade, right? We have to have a break or a jog or something every percentage, I think, of a facade.
Okay.
He really wants it attached, but I guess we can come back next month and show you alternatives.
Yeah, I think it dwarfs the size of the original structure, and certainly, I think there's a lot of room to be creative. And that historically has been the type of project that we approve, is a separate accessory structure for the garage rather than attached when it's contributing.
Given that we have a lot of room to play with here, because we're not over, would you guys be averse to having some kind of covered colonnade or something that would connect the two? Just because, it's Florida, it rains, you come home with your stuff. Would that be considered, a possibility?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of example of trellises and things like that I've seen in other projects.
I'm thinking more like a little bit of a hard roof so that it, you don't get rained on,
Yeah,
Would that be something you guys would
Yeah, I
entertain?
think if you could do some research,
Sure.
I can also give you some addresses
Of course.
of properties that we've approved them.
Is there any other aspect of it that, other than that?
Well, so I guess it would just be how would you deal, so I still have the same concern about just the length of the building. You're basically doubling what you see from the street. And so I don't know how you would resolve that second floor if you broke off the garage, because I think that should probably, I don't know, I would imagine do you envision that as a one-story element, or would you treat that as like a two-story accessory structure? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm trying to give you as much feedback as
No,
possible.
I appreciate that. I think that, given his growing family, he's gonna want those, because that's a bedroom that's hanging out over that garage, so we would probably try to incorporate, obviously a 3-car garage is much smaller than a 1-bedroom, so we would, endeavor to fold it back around more and minimize it, and then create some kind of accessory, a little bit of a bridge, and detach it. So it will reduce the mass, because there and again, if one of the bedrooms is that bedroom where the garage is smaller and downstairs, that loses the 2-story component to it. That reduces mass. So perhaps that would be a more palatable option.
A property to reference, a recent one that we had was 734 Ardmore, where it was very overpowering. They reworked it a little bit, and it was a fantastic layout because garages were important. And this is fun. Coming from the person directly to your west, I love what you've done with that, especially how you relocated the pool to give sensitivity and set that back. So kudos to you on those. And you're looking for feedback. I think that was a very fantastic idea.
All right, well, we'll come back next month.
That wasn't your project on
Which
Ardmore,
one?
was it? No.
Ardmore?
Don't you have a project on Ardmore?
Yeah,
Was it 734?
Yeah, that was the one.
That's why I figured.
That's the one where I tried to get it torn down and
Yes.
the wagons circled, and
How's that coming along?
we're about ready, we're like this close to going into permit.
Oh, good.
So, yeah,
Good.
it's complicated
Yeah.
because of
sure.
it existing and connecting and, so we're right there.
Yeah.
This week, hopefully it goes into permit, so. but
So
we'll-
I think definitely to continue our conversation, you would want those garage doors not to be facing the street like you have now. But
Right, yeah, I'll figure something out.
yeah, I guess like turn it and shift it over towards the property line and there's a property, I want to say it's on Cordova, right off of Dixie. I don't know how well you remember all the the West Palm Beach personalities, but it used to be the owner of Molly's Trolleys.
Oh, wow.
Do you know that house? I think it's on Cordova.
I'll look for it. I'll look for it.
I don't think it's Barcelona, I think it's Cordova. Yes, so it's Cordova on the south side of the street, right in from Dixie, and so they built a garage. And so that's a good precedent. There's another one. I think that one has a connector, but I'm not sure. There's another one on Pershing, the second one in from Flagler on the south side of the street. And I'll try to think of any other ones, but I think it's been successfully carried out for a number of other properties. So I think that would make a big difference in reducing that massing.
Got it.
Any other feedback? Okay. Well, thank you for being open to working with us. Can we have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. I keep almost skipping public comment. Any public comment? Okay. Can we have a motion to continue?
I move the board to continue case number 24-57, 736 Sunset Road to the September 24th, 2024 meeting, board meeting.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is 24-56, 233 Almeria Road. Mr. Lawrence, you've got a lot of projects tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so we are now over in the El Cid district, which I think is much closer to where you live, or isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so this is 233 Almeria for Mark Rosen is the client. He was going to be here tonight, but he had another commitment that he couldn't get out of. So we'll start with this one. So this is the adjacent neighborhood. This is the house immediately to the west of it. This is the subject property, which is a 1949 house that non-contributing we're proposing to demolish. To the east of it is also a non-contributing one-story property. And then these are the three across the street here. And then these are this one here and here are houses that are along that street. And I included this one because it's on Belmont, but it's literally right behind this, and it has a bearing on what we're doing because it has this kind of three-story component which kind of looms over us a little bit. So I guess first I should address the demolition issues. 1949 non-contributing, kind of a plain one that's been altered over the years, so not a lot of characteristics of it that are probably anywhere near approaching original. And so that's why we're hoping that you'll approve a demolition on this one. This is the context elevation. This is the proposed. We did some work over on Aravale, and there was a house there that had some of these, that was 1930s, I think, that we just did some renovation work on that had some of these elements, with the little tiny volutes and some of these curves, and we thought they were nice cues for picking up on the Med Revival style. So that's where we got some of our precedents in the area. This is the site plan. Accessory structure all the way back, a little guest apartment, and so the house is sitting more centered on the site rather than all to one side or the other. This is the first floor plan, second floor plan, and that's got the accessory little guest apartment. And the roof plan, what we've done is create this is on the front, this little turret piece, which also is kind of a nod to some of the houses in the area, to kind of pick up some of that with this type of the barrel tile on the edge there to kind of give it a flavor of what's around it. And then so this is the proposed elevations, front, rear. That's the garage. And this is the side elevation. We have this little covered area so that you could kind of drop off groceries. And then this is a trellis to hide this stair, and you'll see in the renderings. And this is just some detail work of some of the items. And a staff report was that they wanted this all out of wood, so we agreed to do that, as well as this being clay barrel tile. And these are the sections and renderings. This is, again, that front elevation with the hedge and the little gates. And this back, you can see this is that trellis that's going to hide that, kind of a green wall that kind of hides that stair. And that's it.
Okay.
Good evening again. Benjamin Slaughter presenting HB case number 2456, demolition new construction for 233 Almeria Road. This is our aerial. These are photo renderings. The existing non-contributing house as is. Photos of the area. The site plan. The current structure. The request for demolition of a non-contributing 2,916 square foot single-story primary structure and the construction of a 3,462 square foot two-story primary structure, construction of a 108-foot rear porch, and an accessory structure of 2 stories with 369 square feet garage and a 369 square foot garage apartment. The floor plan is proposed. The second story. This is the south elevation. The rear elevation, the west, and the east. The accessory structure on all 4 sides, and the roof plan. Streetscape. We do believe meets codes 9 and 10 of the Secretary of Interior standards. And we approve of 2 conditions: that a true barrel tile on the roof, that means no S-tiles, and the proposed simulated wood beams be constructed of real wood and not of resin or foam mold.
Do you have a slide of the map that you showed, the GIS map for this one?
Not for this one. I don't believe I do.
Because I'm wondering, is that property to the east contributing? The one-story property to the east?
No.
It's not contributing?
I looked it up tonight.
Really? Should be. Okay, questions of,
So is the applicant okay with the 2 conditions of approval? So you always try to play a trick on us. I think that you do it like a foot or 2 feet taller, so we can ask you to lower it.
Whatever I say at this point, I have 0 credibility, right? No, the client came to me, he wanted high ceilings. And I said, you're not gonna get them. And he said, well, there's the house behind and there are mitigating circumstances. And I said, well, I would present it. I'm your advocate. So they are higher ceilings than normal, yes. But did I present them to you so you could deliberately whack it down? No, this guy really came to me, and his first meetings with me were about having high ceilings. And I said, you're in a historic area, it's gonna be difficult.
I feel like Mark knows that. He's actually received one of our preservation awards years ago, because he's done so many houses in the neighborhood.
Well,
I mean,
then he played me, because that was a very important criteria. He wanted the high ceiling, so
the reason that I'm saying this, because in this particular streetscape, you can see that the beautiful house on the left is shorter than the new house, and you have some room there to play above the second floor windows and the fascia, right, the roof fascia.
we can bring it down some. Just a matter of how much you guys feel is, that we gotta do. I'll go back to the sections. Is that on here? So, whoop. This is the part that's the turret in the front. So the high ceilings, took care of the arches that we had in there. and then this was 10 feet, and then this got a little higher. So,
Yeah, that is
so,
10,
yeah,
10.
we 10 foot 10, and we have 11 feet here. So, yeah, they're high. And that's what he said he wanted, so I'm here asking.
Yeah, and that house on the corner is new construction,
Yes,
so
you
it's,
wish, yeah.
yeah. So I think it definitely needs to be brought down significantly.
Okay, let's make a deal, how much?
That had a lot of backstory, that project, and I think for that to remain a one-story, that other house on Washington, I think flexibility was warranted. But this is new construction.
Correct. So I get to come back on
Not
this one
working
too.
with an existing building.
Okay,
So you mentioned a turret,
yeah,
right?
well.
And
when-
so
Mhm.
I feel like it's not really reading like a turret, and I'm not sure if it's because of that portico feature, if it's not, like, there's not enough of a change in plane. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me, but it's not reading as a turret to me, if that's what you're intending it to be.
Well, I can definitely play with, this is the stairwell in here, or part of it is. So I can play with that and pull that down to make this read more. That's not a problem. That'll push this out a little bit. And maybe I just push up what I found is that there's a little bit of a bug in the software. It's like it shows it doesn't quite get the real thing. It seems like you see a little more of the roof than the software lets us do, but I can work on that, making that read a little better.
I also think the entrance needs to be more human scale.
Okay.
What are you is that just to bring light into the foyer?
Yeah,
That-
we can scale it down.
Because I feel like with the style you're also going with, a porthole window doesn't really fit.
Okay, fair enough.
So I think bring that down, and then I would love, even though the house next door to the east is not contributing, I think there needs to be some relief. You know, it's all the same, height on the second floor. I think there needs to be a one-story element or some kind of change as you move
Perhaps.
east.
I gotta study it, but perhaps we can flip the entire plan so that the one-story portion of this is against that. Would that be enough of a nod, you think? The mass does clearly break down there, so would that help some?
Yeah, it feels very boxy.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just a rendering, but there's not enough breaks in the massing.
Yeah, that right massing is boxy.
Yeah.
Boxy but not good, okay. All right, I'll work on that, so,
And then on the rear elevation, I'd love to see true columns there, rather than those piers, bringing it more, right now it looks like this, I don't know, cantilevered balcony thing, which I don't think that's more of a contemporary design feature, so if you could just
work on
move
that.
those out to be flush and make it more of a column.
I can do that.
I also think the windows on the side are just very vertical. Like like the smaller
These,
windows.
Or these guys?
Yeah, I think those are, I think the ones with, the arch windows with the transom, those feel historically proportioned, but these other windows are much more contemporary. So I think if you could make them less vertical and increase their width, I think that would also help with, you know, the rhythm of solids to voids. Like, it feels like a lot of wall.
Looks barren. Looks barren to me, like it's too stark.
It's too stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the windows on the front, I think those work. So, for instance, that one you have, on the second floor, on the east side, like, I think that's a good proportion. If you could
Yeah.
carry through something like that on the side elevations.
Yeah, those are kind of bed walls, so I'll have to, maybe they become more, I can try to use a smaller casement or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work on it. We'll work to do.
Yeah, it looks like you've got some good ones on the rear, too. Those are a smaller casement. Yeah, yeah,
I can make something slightly smaller than that.
yeah. Because it seems like the ones on the side are much taller, right?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Any other comments, feedback? We
Well,
get to
just-
spend
just-
another evening with you
See you in September.
next month.
So, just that, what, in terms of overall height, first floor, I have 11. You guys have traditionally lived with 10.
Yeah, where did we end up with that house you did on Flagler? I know we went through a lot of iterations, but
It's like, that's 10 and 9, I think.
10
with
and 9?
fall. Yeah,
I think that's a,
that's, and 3408 Washington, 10 and 9 in the back, 8 in front.
see, you know what you're doing. You just want us to tell the owner no. Maybe.
I'm not saying anything. I just got to do what I'm told. They pay
Yeah.
my bills. So, okay, all right, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I'll be back next month
Okay.
for 2 things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion to continue.
I move the board to continue case number 24-56, 233 Almeria Road, for the board meeting on September 24, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we made it, and thank you for waiting. Last case of the evening, 24-38, 2418 Araville Road. Oh, that's the rendering that we saw in that other. Yeah.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Yanni Varnava, representing Varnava Design Studio. On behalf of our client, I'm here to present our design for the construction of a new 2-story residence located at 2418 Araval Road. I'm going to start with the site plan. We're proposing to have the 2-story main residence facing the street and the 1-story accessory building with a garage and pool cabana located at the back of the property. In between the 2 structures, we have an open pergola structure that visually connects the 2 structures together to create the feeling of a courtyard at the backyard. The pool, which is located right here, is centered with the open pergola. At the right, we have the sun table for the sunbathing, and then on the left, closer to the house, we have the area that people congregate. We have a rendered site plan towards the end of our presentation, and you can see the landscape, how the driveway appears. Bless you. How the driveway appears, so you can see the color palette. Move on. So this is the streetscape. This is our subject property. The site is very long and narrow, and that's why we designed the layout the way we did, to take advantage of the length. Neighboring properties, the height of the structure is appropriate next to the adjacent properties. This is the existing house that we'll be proposing to demolish. It was built in the 1960s. It's like a ranch-style home. There's nothing really special about it. It's sitting on a crawl space. Back here, that is the guest house. The location for a proposed garage pool cabana is pretty much the same spot, and pretty much approximately the same size. These are President inspiration images, and the only reason we use them for this presentation is to show you what we would like to achieve at the front with the arched entry and single door. Now, these are elaborate residences in Palm Beach. We're not trying to do anything elaborate here, but those are good examples of what we're trying to achieve. We also wanted to create the courtyard with the arched openings, the arched doors, the balcony above the arch openings, and the bougainvillea. We tried to achieve that in our design. This is the first floor for the main house and garage pool cabana. We have the entry, we have the staircase leading into the living area. The living area, the kitchen, and the family room have double French doors opening into the backyard. And also the doors allow a lot of light to go into the house. This is the second story for the main residence. We have 4 bedrooms up there, 3 face closer to the street, and then the master bedroom suite is facing the backyard with a balcony accessing the view of the backyard. The roof plan, following the floor plan. Front elevation and rear elevation. The front elevation protrudes. This over here pulls back with the balcony. It's about 8 to 10 feet back. So when you approach the house, what you see is this symmetrical facade. The rear elevation, we have the French doors, arched French doors. These are the living room doors. We have the trellis above for the bougainvillea. We have the double French doors here for the Florida room, accessing the open pergola. Side elevations, this is the south elevation facing the pool courtyard. Balcony here, accessing the master bedroom. Below, a symmetrical doors is centered with the balcony, and this is centered with the bathroom. This is the master bathroom window. This is the pool cabana. This is a close-up of the main house. This is the north elevation, sorry. This is the area that the driveway is located. Over here we have a door accessing the laundry room, and it's covered. Again, a close-up. These are the elevations for the pool cabana garage. This is the elevation that faces the pool. This is the garage facing the street, but you don't really see it. It's very far from the street. These are the window and door selections, the door finishes, the finished palette. We have proposing to have a Jacobia blend by Verea as the color or similar. So it will be a true barrel tile roof. This is the door finish we would like to use for the main entry and garage door. And the staff recommended to use bronze windows at the front. We would like to use the green windows per our renderings, if it's possible. This is sections and details. We'd like to show a close-up of the front entry. This would be cast stone. This is the main element of being a cast stone with wood door, and we have a scroll post, Corinthian capital, dentil arched, following the arch, and then we have a cover roof over it. These are the renderings. Try to close up. Front elevation with a sweeping sidewall with a gate. This is the entry. We have double windows on each side, and we also have a little column which will be cast down as well. Front elevation showing the driveway. The balcony here, there's a bedroom behind it. And the back courtyard showing the arched doors leading into the living room, family room, and kitchen with the pool here. And this pretty much concludes our presentation for architecture. We also have the landscape, and this is the landscape palette.
Okay, thank you. We're going to take the staff report and then we'll ask questions.
All right, one more time. Benjamin Salata presenting HB case 2438, demolition new construction for 2418 Arville Road. This is our aerial. The site plan is shown. Site plan proposed. This is the featured rendering. And the non-contributing structure proposed for demolition. The request is for demolition of a 1,770 square foot primary structure, demolition of non-contributing 528 single-story structure, and the construction of a 3,500 square foot two-story primary structure, and a construction of a 614 square foot single-story structure. This is the floor plan for the proposed and the second story, the west elevation, the east elevation, the south, and the north. The roof plan is shown in the proposal, and all four elevations of the accessory structure. The streetscape, and this is the GIS showing the various other featured homes in the area. We do believe this proposed new construction does meet the Secretary of Interior's standards for 9 and 10. And we recommend approval with 3 conditions: that the windows must be Brom or white frames. I will yield this if the board agrees that the green frames are appropriate. A true barrel tile roof, no S-tiles, and the proposed railing must be bronze, not black. That's in my report. Thank you.
Okay, questions of the applicant and staff?
I have a question, and it's just more of like a point of clarification.
Can you turn on your microphone?
I'm sorry, I was too far away.
Okay.
Maybe we can make this as an opportunity. We had mentioned windows and the colors of such. Is this an opportunity that we can add additional, like open up our repertoire and add more colors such as green? I think that's very pretty. I just don't know what we're able to do. I mean, we're seeing the white and bronze frames. Are we able to add the green in there? It was just a general question.
I mean, I think there's lots of historic precedent for this color of windows. I think you'll see them on a lot of historic properties. It's also, I think, the trendy color right now for anyone restoring one of these properties. So I don't have any issues with it.
I think that I think it's just a case-by-case basis, you know, so, I love this color, and I can talk too much, but I'm doing 228-story towers, and I am fighting for this color right now.
I would like to know, I did live in a historic home in a different county. It was called the Gooch House, but it did have green iron framed windows and the same type of style. So it is historic precedent, in my opinion. Thank you.
Also, one thing that, you know, a lighter color has versus a darker color is that usually a dark bronze, for example, may disappear because will match the color of the window. So when you have a dark bronze frame, it looks pretty solid. When you have a lighter frame, you can see the mullions and everything is prettier sometimes. If the glass is too clear, that is not going to happen. Yeah. I love this design.
I think it's a beautifully designed home. I really do.
I think we've been working on this house since about May, so we're happy to
Great.
get it here now.
Great. I have two comments. So is the rendering a representation, or is the drawing of the proposed west elevation? Because there's some medallions or something
Oh, yes.
over. Oh, I think I can see them in the
Yeah,
rendering.
you can see them in the rendering, but
Yeah.
they are painted white to match the body of the house, and it's just gonna give the shadow. Let me see if I can get, how do I get?
I'm not sure you need them with like how ornate the door is.
Okay.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't know, I feel like the door
much.
is so detailed
It's right there.
that could just be the showpiece.
We're okay with removing them if we get the full okay.
Does that, I don't know what everybody else
Yeah, I
feels.
don't think it's necessary.
Yeah,
It's such a handsome house without that.
and then, the one thing is just the depth of that portico, because the precedent imagery that you showed, that kind of ornate surround was more inset into the facade rather than protruding as this is, and so I just wondered if you had played around with the depth of it at all, because I almost wonder if it should be about half that size. Are you trying to provide protection from the
Correct.
door?
Yeah, some kind of a cover so you don't get wet when it rains. Just a little bit of cover. I
Yeah.
think.
Because
the-
it also looks a little, like, with the pilasters, it looks a little weird that they're not actually attached to the wall. They're attached to
I have this.
a pier or,
Here it is. So this is how. Oh, so this is the projection pretty much. So it's around. I don't have dimension here, but it's about 2.5 feet. We can reduce the depth if it's going to help, but we'd like to give some kind of a, covered when they approach.
Overhang.
I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that. That just, because it sticks out so much, I almost want some openness on the side rather than it being fully enclosed.
Okay.
When I'm thinking about historic precedents that I know of, that feels a little, I don't know, because I think typically
What if we make it half the depth?
so you're open to that? That would,
Yes, if we get the full approval, absolutely. It still keeps the design of the house, and I understand that you're concerned with the depth. I had reservations in the beginning as well, but we were trying to give some kind of a, depth, so we don't make it just flat with the wall. So it's okay, we're okay to make it half the depth.
so almost like you're bringing it in line with the eave of the roof?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, that might actually help you with water runoff, I don't know. I mean, that it's not gonna be landing directly on top of it.
Correct. Most likely, we're gonna use copper gutters, but,
Mhm.
you know, right now, we don't show them. Go back to the elevation.
I think it's, the detailing, I think, is really well done.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Does everybody agree with the conditions
Yeah.
that I'm suggesting? Okay.
And this is one of the instances where I don't mind having a flat facade on the main facade, all in one plane. I think that is beautiful in this.
I know, I was thinking about that in
I know
comparison
that
to
you
the
were
last
thinking, that's
case.
the
I'm
reason,
like,
yeah.
are we applying different rules for different cases? But I think just the way that this is executed,
yeah.
it's so balanced. It really works, and I think that the setback to that other bay really just works as well. The proportions are right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So those two conditions to remove the medallions and reduce the width of the portico by half. Would someone like to make a motion?
Are you okay with the S-tiles, with the barrel tiles instead of S-tiles?
Oh, yes, yeah, it was intended to be barrel, true
Okay.
barrel. But can we keep the green windows?
I would think so. And what about, so what do we do with the railings? Because the condition of approval says the railings must be bronze, not black.
Oh, we're
so I
okay
don't-
to bronze with railings, that, we don't
Okay.
object to that. That's
Okay.
okay. Can we get it black?
You are matching my project.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
So 2 motions here.
Yes.
So I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-38 in 2418 Araval Road for demolition in accordance with the demolition guidelines as set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Demolition approved.
Thank you.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 24-38 in 2418 Araval Road for new construction in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, I believe. As well as the additional compatibility criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The conditions include the following. First, the medallions in the main facade should be omitted. Second, the covered entrance should be pushed back at around about half of the distance. Third, true clay barrel tile on roof, no S-tiles. Fourth, proposed railing must be bronze, not black.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, project approved. Thank you. Okay, so can we give feedback on the new, before we adjourn? on the new, the packet that we have, this new format. So I understand wanting to be more efficient and, make it easier for review for everyone on the board, but I'd like to see a little bit more information. Specifically, I think definitely the materials removal plan when there's a lot of.
Yeah, let me say, this is a work in progress. So
Okay.
A lot of notes I've been taking tonight, so it's
Okay.
only gonna improve, but there are
Okay,
a lot of
good.
things that we wanna change that I saw that came through the discussion tonight, so.
Okay.
We're just trying to make it more efficient. It's important that we wanna make this such that the board members are encouraged to read the reports, because I think that helps facilitate a more streamlined meeting. And not pointing fingers, we have many, many other boards that I deal with, and what we find a lot of times is people don't read the report, so they come to the meeting unprepared. But we're gonna continue to work on our PowerPoints, we're gonna continue to work on our staff report, not making excuses, but we're short-staffed right now. I've got 12 vacancies in my department right now. Ben has been without a historic planner now since he's been on board, so we're trying to correct that. So there's a lot we have to do, but we're just taking steps to get better, hopefully, each meeting.
But Amanda, what did you think about having the applicant present, followed by staff before questions?
I didn't find that it was an impediment. What did everybody else think? Like, were you okay, I guess, writing down what your questions were for the architect?
It was
Or
actually,
making a mental note?
it was very helpful. It really was. You got both sides of it, and then you were able to clarify right after to address some of those items. So I think it was a lot more efficient this way.
Yeah.
Sure.
And if I may add, I think a lot of things, particularly when we go to the city commission, we do a lot of presentations to the city commission. With all our boards, the applicant goes first. That's contained in Article 2, which we are in the process of revising and been working on that for some time now. But when we go to the commission, a lot of times, the applicant will present first. If it's a planning firm, if it's an architectural firm that it's very familiar with doing presentations, they're pretty exhaustive and they're pretty complete. So many times, my planners will get up and say, the applicant covered everything. We just want to make sure that we address staff's findings with regard to standards. But it's not uncommon for our planners to get up and show one or two slides to the city commission, and then we move on. Not suggesting that we're going to do that with Ben, but what I want to get to a point where we're not duplicating what the applicant presents. So if they show a site plan, we may show it, but that's something Ben and I will work on. We're not going to spend a lot of time on something the applicant presents. What we're more concerned about, no disrespect, but if the mom and pop gets up that doesn't have an architect, is not familiar with making presentations, they don't know what to present, then hopefully we're going to address it in our presentation. So we'll have a lot in ours, but I don't want to be to the point where we're being duplicative of somebody who's presenting to the board first.
Well, and I do appreciate the attention to materials that I think you've addressed in a lot of the conditions, because that's something that, sometimes I gloss over when I'm reviewing the packet. I'm very focused on the design and not always thinking about the materials, so I think that's great that that's been covered in the conditions. And I think removing things like every single sheet for the windows that used to be in the old packets, I don't think that's something that we need to see. I don't know,
Right.
Gabe, do you agree with that?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
We're getting to the point where we're making two bound, like splitting a version, like a double VHS when the movie was too long, and it was just getting too much
Yeah.
to go through for everybody, not just you. So we're trying to make it more concise, more thing. I took notes as well as Rick to improve on this for next month
Okay,
and
great.
going forward.
May I throw one more helpful item as well? It'll definitely help me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a picture guy, and sometimes when we have continued cases, they've heard the board's comments and they've made adjustments to such. It would be so helpful to have existing or the proposed right next to then, the previous. If there was a slide dedicated to that way, it's really helpful to me to see what they have addressed based on the comments.
On the continued cases, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Do a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.